body virus. It's a horrible experience either way. Just eat lots of vitamin D, okay?
Yeah. Hey, I already what?
Anyway, we're gonna start now. Good afternoon.
Looks like he has,
Not a joke.
he
Good
looks like
afternoon.
he has too much president.
We're starting now. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 705. No sex, please. We're straight, and you can't tell from the title. It's the Jimquisition video. I don't know. When did this come out? Let me check. It came out, just last week, pretty much. So I'm assuming it's about video games. Yep, Baldur's Gate 3 is gay. It's D&D. There's sexuality in D&D, so that's nothing new. Bridget is trans. That's Guilty Gear. So Bridget is not trans. We already know that. What else?
We talked about it excessively.
Yep. And you can't mod marginalized people out of existence. Yes, you can. You can mod games to do whatever you want. So I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about.
You can also just make games without them.
Well, I mean, modders. I could mod a game. Anyone can mod a game to cut. Like, it's easy to cut stuff out. Like, that's not hard. But to add stuff is hard. So cutting stuff out is not hard. And I don't see why that's a big deal. If you pay a modder or have a modder do it for you, you can certainly get rid of stuff.
Yeah,
So
that even works in reality. It's very easy to genocide people and very difficult to build up functioning civilizations.
yeah. So the rest of his description is you're gonna have to get used to it or suck it. Jim, what the hell are you implying? There will be no reasonable debate. Of course not. You're Jim. We already
Nobody
know.
wants to suck you, Jim.
Yeah, we already know that Jim is biased and anything he says is probably wrong. And there's easily a debate between these topics, as we've seen the past week with the whole fiasco of the release of Starfield. So, no, Jim, games are highly moddable, and media is highly talked about when it comes out. That's the whole point. It gets modded, it gets updated, it gets tweaked. Everything gets changed as updates come in, and modders pretty much dominate the accessibility and the livelihood of a game like Skyrim and all the Bethesda games. If it wasn't for modding, they would not be as popular as they were.
All the Bethesda shit from the last 15 years survived solely on modability.
Yeah, even with BioWare games before, I guess, the release of the remake or whatever you want to call the trilogy re-release, it was all modding. Everyone was playing the game because of modding. Even the multiplayer was modded. So there were maps you could play that were modded in multiplayer with Mass Effect 3. They're still going on. The servers are still live. So, yeah, no, those modding keeps things alive. And in modding, you could do pretty much whatever you can within the confines of the game. So I don't get this take on Jim. I don't know what he's trying to explain. And it's a dumb take, honestly. If you can't mod something to your liking, you're not going to play it. So I don't get it. Anyway, let's get started. This is a 20-minute long video with Jim, and it's just tough to go through, as you might imagine. So here we go.
Do we need more supporters?
Do we need more people helping us out? No. The least the better, because we don't want to talk too much about Jim.
I mean, we could always use the speed button whenever Jim insults.
That's a good
You know
point.
what? Just better idea. Every time you insult someone, just put it on speed there.
We'll start at 1.25, and we have
Right.
3 more increments, so 1.5, 1.75, and 2. I think that's fair. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm James
Oh
Stephanie
my
Sterling,
God.
and this is The Door.
That name will always trip me up.
Let me guess.
Fucking
A, ate the door. B, ripped it off. Or C, whatever the fuck you would always do.
Wait, his name is James Stephanie? I thought it was Stephanie Sterling. He has...
I thought it. Oh, what about Jamie? You couldn't even go as far as call yourself Jamie.
It's because Jim knows that if he drops the brand of Jimquisition into Stephaniequisition or whatever, no, he's completely forgotten.
Then just reboot, I guess. Oh,
Well, he knows that his content is stupid and insane and repulsive enough that nobody will follow. He needs the brand of Jim. That's why we can always and forever dead name Jim, because he keeps the old name.
I still don't think dead naming is a thing, but that's okay. That's fine. Anyway.
Well,
To start off saying, hey, here's the door I went through. I'm a clumsy fat idiot. Thanks, great. That's good, Jim. That's great.
well, you can't dead name what's not really trans.
I still don't understand it. Anyway, let's just keep going.
Weekend. As well, I've got footage of that. I don't have the door yet.
Jesus Christ.
So, was that Jim
The
getting
gravity.
drop kicked in the face and then just falling to his doom? Okay. I mean, if you're not scared of...
you deserve that.
Yeah, I mean, if he's brave enough to get kicked in the head than to show everyone, that takes balls. So, good on you, Stephanie.
Jim.
James.
But on to a more painful matter. News. And sex. Hot, painful sex.
For the game to put more emphasis on genitals than facial construction and body styles. Unreal. I understand they are trying to push all the political wokeness and racy envelopes possible, but this game is a hot pile of garbage compared to older games. I would rather play Skyrim again, because the level of polish between a 15-year-old game and this new one is unquestionable. Fucking Bethesda game more polished. What are they on? Please spend more time creating robust storylines and different character creation options without jumping directly on the flavour of the year garbage train. What a loser! A few months ago, the gamers were pissing their diapers over the confirmation that long-running Guilty Gear character Bridget was trans.
Okay, so we've talked about this ad infinitum. No, he's not.
Bad writing and retconning doesn't make your fetish fantasy real, Jim.
Impressions of betrayal, the people terrified they were gay because they'd been jerking off to Bridget for years. I was an authority on...
Everybody knew Bridget had a dick.
Oh, get the hell out.
That's the fucking point of the story.
Yeah. Anyway, here's Vladimir Dragunov. Thank you, sir, for being a member for 19 months. Do appreciate it. Greetings from space, Starfield. Question, what is that thing on the screen and why is badly disguised as a human? Yeah, that's Jim. James, Stephanie. Person.
James flying machine, you know?
It does make you gay. If you've ever jerked it to Bridget, if you've ever had a boner playing Guilty Gear, if you've ever had just that little pulse of blood going through your cock while looking at a picture of Bridget, you are...
This is... What are you... Like, what is this? What is going on?
The people who jerked off to Bridget know that. Shut up, Jim.
Jim, leave the homosexuals alone, please.
Are we talking
Yeah,
about video games?
they have enough troubles. They don't need to be abused by you.
Yeah, if we start talking about male behavior sexually, I was like, can we focus on the topic at hand, please? In a more mature way that is not obnoxious?
Guilty Gear was more mature than this. Because the people... And it's a game for teens. If you obsess this much over the sexual content or illusions of it in any story parts of it, then you miss the point. You're just a creepy fetishist. Go away, Jim. You need help. And you need help from a professional, a true professional, not some weird ideologue that pretends to be a licensed psychotherapist, although probably that person has a real license because the fucking system is corrupt and hands it out like candy to the ideologues.
That would be a good question. I always want to talk to these people just in the most basic way, saying, where'd you go for therapy? Like, where's your clinic? Who's your doctor? Can I talk to him? Like, it seems...
Who diagnosed you?
Yeah, it seems very simple because they're so public about their condition. It's like, oh, great, let's go. I want to go to this guy and ask him some questions about you. That'd be great.
And that's the very thing. These people are adamantly against the proper diagnostic process and insist on self-identification.
Well, if they say something like, "Oh,"
that's why I call all these people who insist on self-identification over real diagnoses as Münchhausens, because that's how Münchhausens act.
If they do say it's confidential, it's like, well, how do you know it's? If you're so public about it, why aren't you sharing this amazing realization that you should be sharing with everyone in the world because it's your thing, where you went and who told you this. And then we could easily have a conversation with a doctor who is the trans doctor who does this sort of diagnosis.
And if you are so sure in yourself about this, why are you afraid of a diagnostic process?
Yeah, it should be completely, and believe me, Jim is one of the most outspoken weirdos on this topic that I've ever seen. So he should have no problem talking about his doctor, where he went, what time of year it was, all the details. And we could talk to this guy, say, hey, what do you think of Mr. Stephanie over here, or Miss Stephanie over here about his condition? Is that normal?
Jim.
Yeah, is that normal for gender dysphoric? Is that how you behave and talk?
No. But the thing is the more these people talk about it, the less they have the actual condition. And you see that with Munchausen as well, because they can't shut up about their weird shit they want attention for. And they even make up things about the conditions because they're not even looking them up properly. So they're just imitating them. What happened here is that a bunch of Munchausens got together and established their fantasy version of it over the real one, which is a phenomenon that should go into medical history at some point.
Okay. Here's First Lady Michael Obama. Thank you, Michael. If I committed a minor crime and the judge ordered me 24 hours of being in the same room as either Jim Sterling or Matt Jarbo, I'd beg for the lethal injection. Failing that, I'd lunge for the bailiff's pistol in hopes of joining my racist uncle in Valhalla. Oh, that's a interesting uncle you used to have there.
The meat is good.
It better be. All right, one more from Vladimir. Thank you, sir. Bold of Jim to assume a bisexual like me cares about what lies betwixt Bridget's legs. If you're having an erection playing a video game, there's probably many reasons for that. Good for you. This is not a topic of conversation. This is like guilty by association. This is so silly. You're playing a video game. Oh, you're going to commit murder tomorrow. Oh, you're playing a video game. You must be gay. It's like, what? No.
Yeah, it's the same logic.
All right.
Or the video game makes you gay. It's the same as it makes you violent.
It's so childish. I'm surprised Jim is even trying this attempt.
Jim is a child.
Well,
it's
yeah.
A big, fat, spherical child.
Okay, all right.
Totally gay, totally gay, confirmed gay, or not. Maybe you're not. Either way, jerking off over a cartoon of what you thought was a girl doesn't really say anything, other than the fact that you like jerking off over cartoons. Nobody thought Bridget was a girl. Which is fine.
Masturbation can't hurt you physically or make you insane or anything like that.
Anyway, all the panicking was honestly fucking funny. It was the denial that entertained me the most. The people frantically talking in circles and clutching at straws for any evidence to the contrary. Any explanation that concluded Bridget was not, in fact, trans. There were claims that Guilty Gear's creator was mistranslated or misunderstood, or had in fact been somehow mistaken himself when he confirmed Bridget's transness, despite him emphatically and amusingly smacking down any such claims. At the time, my response to the denials and the dismay was combative, antagonistic, and unhelpfully mocking, typified as it was by this picture I started posting. And I'd just like to say from the bottom of my heart that I have no regrets. Those who didn't care for what I was doing criticized me for not contributing anything worthwhile to the discussion. And that stuck with me because, well, that was the point.
So your point was to be useless? What? I have 1,001 thoughts that I don't want to make a video out of because I know that they've either already have been said, or there's no reason for me to say them, or they're highly subjective and it doesn't make a difference. Jim, you're admitting to being useless. This is not what you should be doing. You should be saying things that you believe in and matter, not useless crap.
Darling wants to contribute anything worthwhile to the debate about Bridget because capital G gamers creaming their genes in outrage over their inability to handle the existence of a trans person isn't a worthwhile discussion to begin with. Responding with memes just telling them to suck it is immature, puerile, and vapid. And it's
But that's what you just did.
Yeah. And Bridget isn't trans. Bridget has been basically brainwashed and abused since childhood. It's not the same. being psychologically broken and tormented for weird reasons is not the same as being trans. Although it can, I guess it can look like that or express itself in a similar fashion, but it's not the same thing.
You could be literally saying transvestite because he's wearing feminine clothes. That's fine. I mean, you could use that.
Yeah.
That's fine, but it's not a big deal. And people who I don't get this whole sexual innuendo thing as, oh, you were attracted to Bridget. It's like, I like beating her up as sole bad guy, I guess, but I don't know if.
Well, in the eyes of fakers like Jim, transvestites are already trans.
Oh, really?
Probably because it contains the syllable or something.
Yeah, the guilt by spelling.
Guilt by spelling. Association by spelling. The thing is that the ideologues have deliberately redefined the term as anything that doesn't confine with gender norms, which is why in their eyes tomboys are trans, because tomboys act like guys, have guy interests, therefore they must be trans because they're not girly girls. And being girly girls is bad anyway. Just as being manly men is bad. So the only option to be is to be trans in the eyes of the ideologues. That's the insanity of it all.
It seems like a silly default to just assume everything would be that way. It's like, okay, well that's...
Well, there are reasons behind it, but you are gonna think you're reading some Aleister Crowley shit. Because that's what you do when you read into the ideology.
Okay.
It's insane magical nonsense.
Here is Vladimir Dragonov one more time. I don't want them putting chemicals in the code that turns the freaking gamers gay. Yes, the writers and creators of Guilty Gear in Japan know the exact way to get you attracted to girly boys or...
We just need counter chemicals, then turn the freaking gamers gate. Does that work?
I don't think so, but I'm trying to think.
The pun was not good enough.
Yeah, no, there's so much, I wouldn't say ambiguity of the sex or the gender, rather, in Japanese art for manga, anime, and gaming that it's fair game, and it's not a big deal. And people who have played games for the past decade, at least, I'd say the past 30, 40 years, are totally aware of this. Even in Chrono Trigger, if anyone's played that, there's some trans character, if you want to call it that. It's not
Flea
even,
is not, but it's the same case with Flea. Flea is not really trans. Flea is a psycho.
Right. It's like you're not sure what gender they are. Neither do they, and they don't care because they just want power. And I got the power. It's like
Flea admits to being a man, but actually just the woman thing is a pretend.
Right.
Wait, are we talking the singer Flea or?
No.
The boss.
The boss the mini boss. What do you want to call the three bosses in Chrono Trigger Magus' Castle?
I have no clue.
Yeah, no, it's...
Flea admits it's only about self-indulgence and power.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, thank you, villain, for stating your plot so cleanly to me without having to make it confusing. So
basically, Flea said the quiet part out loud that people like Jim don't want to admit.
Right. And there's that's great. That's a fashion thing in Japan. We've got the girly boys in Thailand. I can't remember what that's called. There's I'm trying to remember the name of that hairstyle in Japan, which is also a form of performative art where men dressed up as women, very similar to how in Shakespearean time. Sorry, what was it called? Otokonoko. Yeah, it's something like that, where that's just the way that they perform, and it's like that's totally cool. That's totally normal. So there's all these historical examples, whether we're talking about gaming in the past 40 years or the stage in hundreds of years, where men dress up as women, and it's performative. And you can call it personal. Maybe these men are homosexuals.
Usually had its roots in some form of theater. There was the case in Britain. It was the case in Japan in the kabuki theater.
Kabuki, thank you. That was the one I was looking for. But I think your other one was more accurate, actually. But yeah, no, there's all these reasons, and perhaps those men are homosexual or bisexual. That's great. Good for them. It's not a political issue. It's just a cultural norm. And we have accepted people's sexuality for hundreds of years now. We're well above and beyond these concepts of freedom. And religion has to catch up, but that's fine. Religion is its own culture as well. It can have its own practice, and you don't have to bother with them, and they're great. They're happy. So.
Yeah, and real life is not theater. Theater is theater. If real life is a theater for you, you are not an honest person.
Well, that brings us back to Jim being a performative artist on YouTube, and I really believe that most of these people are performative artists on YouTube for the sake of clicks and their image. But if they honestly wake up and they put on their makeup and they think they are whatever, again, good for them. I'm not against that. I have not clubs, but they're kind of like brunch dance halls downtown Toronto, where we house a bunch of drag shows and cabaret, and it's great fun. I mean, it's fantastic music and dancing. People are very talented.
If you like the gay shit,
yeah,
have at you.
Go for it.
A lot of gay people and trans people that don't.
Exactly. Yeah. So
and the left does not respect that.
And all you got to do is say, "Good for you. I hope you're doing well. Don't tread on me and my tastes. I won't bother with you with yours." And we're all happy. It's all great, and that's the beauty of multiculturalism. When you are tolerant of others, unfortunately, it doesn't go both ways at times. But that's just the intolerant left in Canada. I can speak from Canada, at least in Toronto, which is very multicultural. But
this left is the same everywhere. I promise you that they act the same everywhere. They think the same everywhere. It's the same programming.
Yeah,
it's the same. It's the same mental issues. It's the same talking points everywhere on the planet.
Yeah, the only thing I noticed is, I think last month, we have these what the hell are they called? Rainbow Galaxy exchanges I don't know what the name is. Something Galaxy. It's like kids are encouraged to take their clothing to school in exchange with the opposite gender, and they'll have like talent shows, fashion shows. Yeah, I've learned about this. This has been going on for years in Canada. Okay. And the teachers dress up with alternating clothes as well, and they have fashion clothes, and it's like, or fashion shows, and it's like, really, I've never heard of this, and it's been on the down low for a while. So, these are the little pervasive things. Like, it started in the 90s when I was in high school with... I
wouldn't even have engaged with that as a kid.
Oh, no.
I would have refused to join in on that.
That is a thing I just heard of. It's been happening for years. But I was doing the weekly, like, Eastern European, not cultural exchanges, but they had like food we'd bring in and music and dress, and you would dress up and you would serve them. Like, I was partly Ukrainian, so I would bring in pierogies or vienyaki, parahe, whatever. And the food is great. It's fantastic to show off music and food, because that's one of the benefits of the economy of multiculturalism. But with that should come some story, some spirituality, some religion, because that's where all these practices like making kishka and the blessing of the baskets and all these other wonderful practices, why we have egg bread in Ukraine. Like, what's the point? There's this whole ritual, but they don't want to get into that because there's no curriculum for it. They can't teach world religion with all this
They
stuff.
could teach something about culture, and in actuality, and instead they do pointless dress-up games.
Well, I don't know, because I was only there in the 90s in high school, and I don't mind. Like, it's great to learn about other cultures through food and music, because that's the easy stuff. But when you go to your religion class, I want my teacher, like, we had a Japanese tea ceremony as best as we could. We didn't have an actual practitioner come in, but we had the actual ingredients, so we could make the tea. And if you don't like tea, it's going to taste horrible, and you don't know what you're doing, and they're not using the right teapot.
The tea is secondary in the tea ceremony.
Yes,
preparation is the important thing. That's why do you even pretend to do it if you don't have anyone who actually knows how to?
Exactly. So you have all the ingredients for, like, the Japanese style tea ceremony, which is very specific kind of green tea, and
much less expensive as hell.
You can buy the lacquer bowls if you want. You don't have to, but yeah, I know what you mean. So we couldn't get the real thing, but we got just enough, and everyone's like, "Oh, disgusting tea," and it's like, no, this is meditation. This is a whole spiritual journey you have to go on for half an hour at least, and take your time.
It's not about drinking. It's less about drinking the tea.
The tea is just the avenue. It's just and
making matcha right is also its own thing, because when you do that wrong, it will be bitter. Matcha tends to be bitter.
Yeah, well,
because of what it is made from. Like matcha is not the actual leaf. Matcha is the webbing of the leaf that is taken out carefully, because since the Japanese have limited area for agriculture, they try to find use for every single part that they can find a use for. Which many cultures did for various things, like my grandparents and their parents, they still ate every part of the animal, which now most people recoil in disgust for.
Yeah, I know.
And matcha is basically a product of that. They took out the webbing of the leaf and made a specific kind of other tea from that is very strong, but is also a bit bitter, and the preparation for it probably led to the development of the tea ceremony ritual, which is about the ritual of doing it.
Yeah, and
everyone's sitting around waiting.
Every culture has that, using up as many resources as possible. I remember my nonna eating the eyes of a cow because they're good for you, and that was the
salty.
Thing. Yeah. So anyway, sorry to change topics and go back to my experiences, but that was just like my brain just went there. So I was like, all right, we're gonna.
Hey, at least it's not steak this time.
Well,
it's cow eyeballs.
I mentioned a cow, but yeah. Okay, anyway, it's northern Italy. Anyway, Vladimir Dragunov, no, step on Snek. Oh no, let's not do that.
Snek tastes like chicken.
The Copperell, thank you, sir. Arg the whale, he be white. Bring me my harpoon. Okay. Let's be nice to Jim as best as we can. Okay, let's keep going.
Of maturity and dignity these fucking imbeciles deserve. I've been dealing with these contrived outrages from the cisheads for over a fucking decade now, and I am over affording them the respect of a reasonable rebuttal. As I've said in the past...
No, Jim, you don't do that ever.
I remember how the Gamer Bros reacted when it was revealed that a bit part NPC in Dragon Age Inquisition was trans. One very minor character who just happened to be transmasc, and BioWare was told off for pandering because...
I didn't play Inquisition.
That was
what is he referring
Jennifer
to?
Transmask?
Yeah, there's the character. She's like the second in command of the Bulls Chargers, and it's actually voiced by Jennifer Hale. And they refer to this lady as a guy because she acts like a guy. She's one of the guys, but she's physically a female. So, but that's it. Like that's all it is. It's just a reference. But the thing is, if you're going to do that, give us a reason. Like, what's the point? And this is kind of the issue with the. It started part of the problem with Inquisition and the DLC with Felicia Day, where they changed the lore of the Qunari from accepting just whomever and like this weird socialist utopia, which it was not. It was never that way. It was the opposite. It was like this very exclusive group where you were born a certain way and that's how you should behave, and they're very serious about that. So, yeah, most people didn't give a shit, but once you saw that, hey, that's Jennifer Hale, and she's playing a girl who's acting like a guy, but that's about it. Like, there's nothing there.
So she's just in armor, and people assumed, oh, that's the commander. Hello, sir.
Right, but it was brought
that's
up.
not trans.
It was brought up that it's a girl, and you're like, okay, but what's like? Why would you do that? Like,
yeah, but that's not. That's like saying Joan of Arc is trans.
I don't know.
Because she wore in armor and swung around a sword.
Yeah, she acted like a guy. Sounded like, because Jennifer does play males in her acting parts as well. So it wasn't a big deal. It was just weird that you would even include a character like that because they had nothing to do with anything. And this is BioWare. BioWare has done stupid shit like this. They did it with Mass Effect Andromeda at least 3 times in that game, with literal trans character who escaped their bondage from the Milky Way
and
galaxy.
then keeps talking about, I was once a man. Yeah, nobody actual dysphoric would do that. You have the super technology of Andromeda where you can do a total bioconversion. And then you'd keep telling people that you were once a man and you sound depressed now.
Yeah, the Solarians
talk about misdiagnosis.
Yeah, Solarians have this amazing genetic manipulation tech that they could probably turn you into whatever the hell you wanted, but it's never brought up. And except in Andromeda, where it's just this human who's dumb, who's like, oh, I'm escaping my blah blah blah, and you're like, what? You took on this experimental mission because you didn't feel comfortable in the galaxy you were born in, where you could alter your genome. It's like, what?
So you transitioned to Andromeda.
So you changed your galaxy. That's a weird way of putting
so
it.
dumb. So this character in Inquisition is basically just a tomboy, and Jim insists the tomboy is trans.
Pretty much.
Although there's no allusion to like any dysphoric issues.
Yeah, because these people are just mercenaries, and all they know is fighting. So there's no talk of their personal life being of any value.
You have bigger problems.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and Ivan the Mad Vandal corrects me that Joan of Arc didn't go around swinging swords. She was a cheerleader. Okay. I am not firm on her history. It's French stuff. We don't learn about French stuff.
Or the Dutch. Okay, let's keep going.
Cis het cast is totally normal and not pandering of an appearance by someone who...
No,
it's
Jim, it isn't, because that is normal. Being not trans, so being not dysphoric, and not having these weird fetishes, and not being gay, and not fucking animals, and not fucking children, that is normal. That is not pandering, that is normal.
The last I checked, if you guys remember your Inquisition lore, there are at least 3 characters that are gay. There are, I think all of them are bisexual. I think, if not, in Dragon Age 2, they are all bisexual.
Yeah, if anything, the weirdos are overrepresented.
Yeah, it's weird. Everyone remembers Dorian being the gay man, because he's flamboyantly gay. Then there's that weird gay lesbian elf chick whose name escapes me because she's so annoying. And what the hell was her name? Sarah, I think. So, it's... BioWare tries to accommodate everyone. And they sometimes... Like with Dorian, he's a great character in the story, not because he's gay. His gayness is almost irrelevant to the story. And they try to tie it into his backstory, like, oh, he escaped his father's problems with him, so he did his own thing and left the city he was in. It's like, that's not the issue with Dorian. The issue with Dorian is that he's part of this time travel plot, which screws up the lore like monstrably. So the fact that they're pandering to that is like, whoop-de-doo. They've been doing that since the first game, so who cares? It's not a big deal. Okay.
Hats, or as they put it, normal far. And I'm supposed to treat people who think like that with reason? These aren't reasonable people. They're literally angry because they had to see a trans person for a minute. I don't care if I'm not winning hearts and minds by telling these people to suck it, because their hearts are shriveled and their minds are leaking bags of...
Oh yes, you're the good person. You're the great good person. Everyone else who disagrees with you or doesn't like the things you like are evil.
This is what Jim is doing, is he claims he's the good person who's against hate, while he is the one seething with hatred and inducing it in the useful idiots of his audience. He is the source of hatred.
The problem,
who wants to be represented by a celestial body like Jim, who's probably orbiting Movie Bob in his free time?
Yeah, there are good bisexual characters in the Dragon Age series, for example, and there are horrible, dumb examples of gay people in Inquisition as well. So it's like it doesn't matter what their sexuality is, because most of them are bisexual anyway. It's how that sexuality is presented. Like Sarah is just an annoying character in general, so everything she does is annoying. With Dorian,
he's also proving, or rather, he's a living example of Jonathan Haidt's research that you can read up in The Righteous Mind, where he, on the left, believes that those who disagree with him are evil.
Really?
Well, they have shriveled up hearts, and They are the ones that do. Through his projection, because he's the one hating, he believes the other people just hate what he claims to be or what he claims to speak for.
It's weird because even in Origins we had bisexual characters and no one cared. Like it was like, yeah, because they were well written. Like it made perfect sense that Zevran, who was raised by whores, was bisexual. It's like, wow, the assassin dude who's attracted to you because you're awesome and spared you his life doesn't care what gender you are because he was around sex while he was growing up. It's like Isabella, the same thing. I'm just like listing, like I think what was her name? Liliana. She was also raised within the Chantry in Orlais, where they were a bit sexually liberated there. And this is a normal character thing. I don't think anyone playing Dragon Age is going, oh, gay people. Like, no. The problem is not that they're gay. It's how they express themselves, like Sarah, which is obnoxious. So it doesn't matter if she's gay. If she expresses herself obnoxiously, it's annoying. With Dorian, it's a bit over the top, but he's also charming at times. So there's a bit of a...
Yeah, not a gay issue. It's a personality issue.
And
every single time.
And the main plot as well with Dorian. But that's just a me thing. I think I'm more sensitive to plot than other people. But that's fine. All right, let's keep going. Vladimir, hey, how's it going? Thanks again. So that's what planet I'm on, Wisp. I was wondering what was with the civic-sized food crumbs. What are we talking about?
He's on Movie Bob.
Oh, okay. As soon as you said crumbs, I'm like, Wisp. I'm like, we talking about bread again? Are we having the bread discussion with Wisp? It's like, I hope not. Okay, anyway. Back to the video.
Want to win those. I want to dump them in a bin where they belong. I'm bringing this up now because,
Sadism.
as the quote earlier suggests, the same
What
predictable
escaped me.
tantrum is being thrown over Baldur's Gate 3. The same pathetic routine we always get. And yet again, my instinct is to treat it not with counterpoints, not with rational arguments, but
You
with
can't.
vicious mockery and hideous laughter. That kind of
God.
laughter. Was this game written by a bunch of teenagers that giggle at every mention of sex? Can a person ever talk to anyone without being propositioned? Probably the most perverted game I have ever seen, and so many have defended this, which is very worrisome. I know I will get the unhelpful check for this review, but being honest will get you that if you are not in the majority. If you are a pervert and like cutscenes, then this game is for you. For me, I have come out of my mother's basement, so this isn't exciting to me. Gameplay is slow, dialogues are written poorly, the character creator is absolutely disgusting. I really hope the people that voted for this woke nest are bots if they aren't stopped with this hype. It only ruins the industry. There's no gender selection anymore, just identity and body type. In other words, Larian is now most definitely an AAA studio.
It's honestly a question, Jim. What are you transitioning if there is no such thing as sex or gender? What is this identity game? You're just role-playing. If you can switch identity back and forth, you don't have a medical condition. You don't have the medical condition. You are just really just role-playing, being things for attention, and jerking off.
One thing I learned about Starfield is that you can change your gender anytime while you're playing. You just turn it to male, female, they or them, at any time.
What, in the options? Or?
Yeah, you go to your character and you just change it. So it's pointless.
And magically everybody knows what to refer to you as?
Well, that's the thing. I've been told that apparently Todd Howard doesn't care about that feature, so they all think you're a male. I could be wrong, but I don't know. It's this silly joke that Todd just doesn't give a shit because there's other things to worry about.
Everything is going down the drain. This is what this means. Everything is going down the drain because trying to pander to these clinically insane people. And the thing with Baldur's Gate 3, these games always had some hidden sex scene or something. It was usually an Easter egg or a brothel or something. But they didn't have they didn't go out of their way to have a sex scene with a shape-shifted druid into an animal. That is some special effort, while neglecting having such relationships with some of the female characters. That tells you where the attention went to.
And that reminds me of the relationship you could have in Baldur's Gate 2 with Viconia, which was a dark elf, or what was she? A drow.
Yeah, she's a drow.
And the story with her after, like in the epilogue, is like a tragic story where she sort of like loses you or whatever. That you break up. It's like, wow, like you go through all this effort of charming this girl, break her, her barriers down. She cares about you, and even then, despite all that, well, obviously there's a lot more to it than that because you're the son of murder or the god of murder. She has to
destruction.
Isn't Baal the god of murder? I could be wrong.
I think it was destruction in Baldur's Gate.
Even despite all that, you still have a bad end result with that relationship. And I thought, wow, they had the balls not to have a happy ending. Good for you, BioWare, for putting that together. Like, not everything has to end well in a romantic. And all it is
and what was in the forefront is the emotional relationship, not the sex.
That's the beautiful thing with Baldur's Gate 2, not even with Viconia, but the fairy girl. There's so much dialogue with
something.
Ari, that was her name. She, like, you could tell the actor was like, okay, you're really hurting here. You're crying. You're seeking out. You need help. And all the girls are catty. They're all catty with each other, especially Viconia because she's the evil character. Even Jaheira is kind of catty.
Jaheira is just a step down from Viconia.
She is distraught from the death of her husband. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So, but there's emotion in there.
Jaheira always sounds like she's about to stab someone. And not for sadism, but for why are you not doing the perfect thing? Do the fucking perfect thing. Don't you fucking understand?
And her backstory is pretty violent as well, with the Harpers coming after her, and you have to defend her, and she's sorry about that. There's so much going on in those little games from 20 years ago that you could hear it in the voice acting. They really focused on that, and that's it. There was no sex scene. There was no.
Yeah, and when the difference is when the relationship path is just about getting to the sex scene. And there's no bigger emotional story before or after, especially the after, then it's no different or even less than your average Japanese eroge. Because those are all about clicking the right answers in order to get to the sex scene.
Yeah, and it's great. People are mentioning KOTOR 2 romance scenarios, which, if you remember, I don't know if you guys listened to Chris Avallone and the team who did the writing. They did not want to even have those sorts of scenarios in the story, but they wanted to focus on storytelling. So naturally, relationships would develop. So they said, okay, we still have to put this in here somewhere. And they focused so much on the character as a driving force in the story and why the characters were attracted to that. So it didn't matter really what the flirting elements were, or the sexual elements. It was about, I care about you because you're changing my life for the better, and you're making me think differently, and you're fighting with the handmaiden, and she's developing feelings, and you're training Visas Mar, and she's developing feelings. You're training with the acolyte if you went that route, and he's developing feelings. And Krea's there going, you realize what you're doing here. Like, you're not stupid, right? Like, these people are interested in you. And it's this wonderful conversation where Krea is always the one to tell you what's what. And you're like, what do you mean, Krea? What are you talking about? Like, you could play stupid, but she knows you better. And there's this very touching scene where, well, if you choose Visas Mar, for example, where you meditate together. That's the sex scene. Because Visas Mar is blind, she sees things through the Force, and you meditate, and it shows the Force vision of you two meditating together, and you fade to black. That's it.
So it's Demolition Man.
It's this beautiful beautiful storytelling that involves romance, not in the traditional way. And I bet you will get much more attracted, not necessarily romantically, but dramatically, to the storyline in KOTOR 2 with that massive cast. There's like 12 characters in that game. I can't remember how many there are. So it's and romance is part of it if you want it to be. Anyway, back to the video.
Has some new employees to really means in modern gaming. What? Boring combat system, uninteresting companions, terrible location design. SJW. The game is very depraved. I mean, seriously, get a load of these sad fucking bitches, will you? Can you actually imagine being so deeply fucking weird that you hate an otherwise fantastic game because its character creator lets you put a dick on a girl? Can you imagine being that...
It isn't a girl, it's body type B. And why even is that? Isn't that misogynist? If because B comes after A, shouldn't it be body type A and body type 1? Or is that numberist? Just asking questions.
Larry, okay, I love Divinity 2. I love playing it. The romances in that, or the relationship in that, were pretty lame. They were pretty stupid. Some of them were cute and funny, but that's because the character itself was well done, like the Red Prince. But all the female ones were like, this is silly. And then there's this music scene where one of the bards who loves you starts performing music, and it's like, oh, this is so cringy. This is really bad. So I'm not saying it's a bad game, but they handled romance very poorly in Larian. So I don't know, because I'm not going to play Baldur's Gate 3. I'm just not interested in it. So
the thing with Jim is, when you have this not just pseudoscience but anti-science stuff in your game that only a specific ideology brings up, that acts more like its own weird cult religion than something political. Yeah, people are repulsed by that. So it's less about the sexual thing even. It's more that you are trying to push your completely insane view of the world, your Weltanschauung, into media that is supposed to be for escapism. And people see that and think like it's the same as if the pushing their shit into the games, or the Jehovah's Witnesses or Scientology.
Right. We can reduce it to things that should not belong in this experience. And this is one of those elements, and people are arguing, well, if it's so small, why are you complaining? And I'm like, well, if it's so small, who cares? Let's get rid of it. Why does it
have to be in?
Why is it even there? I can tell you.
Why are you making a fuss about pushing it into it?
Yeah,
if it's so small.
And it's like, well, why is like Az so angry? It's like, well, why are you constantly harping on him being angry if it's a purely subjective thing to you and him?
Az is my new spirit animal. He voiced every emotion I have about this shit. He's completely right. He's 100% right on this.
This is as if you had, well, actually, no, this is probably worse. If you had a religious, like, let's put Christianity in there, and someone's fighting for Jesus, and you're like, wait, Jesus in 300 years in the future? Like, what are you talking? Like, that would not fit. The difference is Christianity is a 1,000-year-old or several thousand-year-old religion. It might last another 300 years as motivation for a person to do something in the future. But you wouldn't start having weird conversational issues with, well, I'm a clone, I'm a gene spliced clone of a man, and I'm like a girl, and I'm like, I don't understand what that has.
It's just random bullshit.
Like your motivation.
It's not character writing. It's really just random bullshit to see. What's nonsense can I stick together to push my bullshit beliefs into the game, even though that makes no sense.
Right. If this person...
Because I listen to that and I think like, okay, this clone is a failure. It should be terminated, and we get a new one.
If they were based off genetic splicing and there was something wrong or right about them, what I mean is if there was a deficiency which caused them harm as a conflict of a character, or if they were like an egoist or a perfectionist, or they were advanced, so they were superior, they were an augment. Like Miranda Lawson, she thinks she has this chip on her shoulder for being perfect, but she's not perfect. that's a form of conflict. In this, it's just, hi, I'm a clone and I'm a gene spliced person of that, and I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
Why should I care?
Yeah, like it has nothing to do with your motivation.
Oh, I want to be totally open with you. I don't care.
Yeah, like we have.
How is that relevant?
We had stories in. I don't know if you guys remember Sequest DSV. It was a show in the late '90s or around there in the '90s, and they had cloning. They had a guy called I can't remember his name, but they call him Tanky or Tanks because he was born in a tank, and he has this weird body birthing tattoo because his skin is different color. He's a big, strong guy, very gentle dude. He's a janitor on the Sequest, and there was this whole sort of behavior between him and the rest of the people on the ship because there was a war. There was this whole thing about genetic splicing, the concept of making superior humans, and there was a rebellion. So people disliked these guys for causing all this strife. So there's a natural conflict between normal humans and these tank bred guys. And they had like their belly button on their necks and all these other, they'd call them names and this and that. That's conflict. That's if there's something going on, use it as a basis for conflict in a science fiction setting. That's why you use the genre for making up conflict in a new light of classic ideas like strife or inequality or differences between people. That's great. That's normal. If you're just going to say, "Hey, I'm a trans dude from the Milky Way, and my name's Steve," it's like, okay, is that a problem now? Like, what do you want me to do? I have a gun. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, there's nothing to do in this scenario. You're putting things where they don't belong, and you're introducing elements that have nothing to do with anything. This is Schroeder. Not Schroeder. I was going to say random crap, but Chekhov's gun. I was looking for. If you give me elements, you have to use.
If your science, and if your science is so advanced that you can change people's sex, then there is no point of talking about this gender dysphoria thing anymore, because it's as much a solved condition as is a broken bone.
There's no conflict. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one medical procedure that we've solved hundreds of years ago. It's like, what's wrong?
Yeah, and it's nothing you would talk about. It's nothing you would mention to anyone.
Yeah,
Why is it on? Because if it is then still on your conscience, then I guess you have regrets. Then I guess you made a mistake.
Yeah, can you imagine in the future, even today, that you tell people, "Oh, by the way, I was born with PKU, but that got corrected in utero or when I was 2 with certain drugs." It's like, okay, do you remember it? No. Are you harmed by it? No. Did your biology change as a result? No. Then
why did you tell me this just now? Why? What is this waste of oxygen?
Yeah, why did you... I mean, it's not relevant to our conversation, not about your character, not about your motivation or your dreams or motivation. Like, there's nothing. So don't tell me, because you're wasting everyone's time.
Yeah, all this is an expression of narcissism, because you tell me something that is irrelevant, but it's something about you, and maybe you tell me because there is absolutely nothing interesting about you.
That is the psychological look. There's also the writer look, where the writer just keeps writing because they thought of a clever idea and they didn't know how to use it, and it's just there for the sake of being there because they know about the topic, which is like, I like flowers, and I'm gonna have a character who likes flowers. And they have an anecdote or an aside, and they talk to the main character about flowers, and you're like, why are we talking about, like, are you distracting me? Or are you just wasting time? Are you nervous? Like, what does this scene mean? And the writer is like, I don't know. I just want to talk about flowers. So this is basically a writer on board moment where they get their soapbox, and you can call it virtue signaling, although in this context it's not really the same. They're just showing off. I know stuff about flowers. I know stuff about trans. I know stuff about whatever. And you're wasting everyone's time.
Or rather, believe to know.
It's a show off. It's a flex. It's like, I know stuff. Yeah. It's like, I don't care. Anyway.
I can regurgitate the gospel.
I read a thing once. It's like, thanks. That's great. All right, let's get on with it. Caporal, Arg the whale. Okay, yeah. Be trans into a manatee, a.k.a. a sea cow. All right.
Oh, that's what manatees are?
Okay. No. Is think so.
The German word is Seekuh. We have that.
Really? Okay. I don't know. It could be.
Maybe that's why I was always confused. But what is a manatee?
Oh.
I never looked it up.
One more from the Copperell. Thank you, sir. Someone make an as into Wisp Stan JoJo reference. Oh. Big floating large fellow from Australia. Wait, but you're already a Wisp, so what's the...
If you want, you can send as my regards and my support, because I can't find my Twitter login anymore. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, probably is. Vladimir Dragonov, thank you again, sir. Wouldn't any current trans issues be beyond solved 300 years later? They're going to be solved.
Yes and no.
They're going to be solved in at least 10 years, I'd imagine.
I think Vladimir means the medically solving it, and that is either maybe 500 years or never, because maybe it is not biologically possible to switch past the fetal stage. Maybe that's just the way it is, and then all we can do is find other ways to alleviate gender dysphoria. So that you can at least have a normal life with the biological body you were born with.
Yeah, because I like to be clear talking about this topic with you, because we usually refer to gender dysphoria specifically about the issue. When we say the trans issue, to me, I mean like current year politics, like for me in Canada, because that is so, like, it's people are slowly waking up to this woke crap, and this is part of that. So I think within 10 years, once our governments and language laws are...
Politically,
right.
Things may look very different in 10 years.
Yes.
Hopefully for the better.
Yeah, exactly.
And not in the direction of the socialists. But medically, it's my guess. It's... If we don't get a magical Star Trek technology, it's probably not solvable.
I remember my friend who has MS when I was a kid.
Oh, no.
And they are making great strides with MS in the past 2 years. So there's all kinds of great breakthroughs in medicine happening every
show
week.
me, please send me some, because I have a friend who is late stage.
Wow. The thing about my friend with MS, I know we're getting off topic here, is he was very strict with his diet and his exercise routine, and he was put into a group of people with MS, and he's the only surviving member. So they were all like eating whatever the doctors would say, like, eat this, eat that. Not that the doctors were trying to kill them, but they didn't know.
No. You need to work out hard, and otherwise your body just deteriorates really fast. And my friend, she was working in retail until last year, and she was just half her size at that point.
Yeah.
Basically running a Warhammer store all by herself.
Wow.
And she was good staff. Like anyone who's been to Warhammer stores knows the staff isn't really that great. She was awesome, and she got people coming back into the store because it's just awesome customer support. And stacking the shelves all alone while she barely reached up there, and working full time, and at that stage of that condition. And I think she made it so far because she refused to let it stop her. She hated when she had to finally accept a walking stick.
A cane?
Yeah, a cane. And they wanted to give her like this old people rollator shit. She said, "No, I'm not taking that. That's horrible. I don't want that." Or a wheelchair. And she's like, "No, I'm gonna walk." She got a bit wonky, but then she finally accepted a cane, and she found one matching with her favorite boots. And ever since, it's amazing. All right, she's awesome. Don't give yourself up when you have MS, and it is one of the few things where medical marijuana actually helps, is actually useful for, because it reduces the nerve pain.
All right, we're at 7 minutes. I don't want to finish this because it's Jim, and he's not going to. He's already said nothing.
It's just ranting and insulting, and I'm a better person than you because I'm a degenerate.
I'm not going to argue with these people anymore. I'm just going to make fun of them. Like, that's not helping anyone.
Well, he never had arguments. What else is he supposed to do? He's just getting honest about it.
Well, yeah. Anyway, let us continue for as long as we can.
Scared of it. And I've seen people swear denying themselves one of the most impressive RPGs of all time because they're so overly sensitive, so plain weak, that their little heart can't...
Who's been overly sensitive, Jim? Who is overly sensitive and keeps talking about microaggressions? Has even invented and sought to establish that term. To be offended at everything. Who is thin-skinned, James? Who? Are you projecting again? Is that everything that you and your ilk can do? It's quite pathetic. You talking about maturity of anything is laughable.
There are many reasons why I don't choose to play the game. And whatever the perverted stuff with the sex stuff it didn't even factor into that. So
I never finished Throne of Baal.
Yeah, you got to play.
Why would I buy part 3 when I haven't even finished 2?
Yeah, 2 is such a good game. Like it's just I played that.
Oh, it's so big, and it has such big replay value. And I hate the first dungeon. The main reason I'm not replaying it is trying out other routes, other classes, other characters, other party combinations is because I have seen that starting dungeon 30 times, and I cannot do it without doing everything in it, and it has some sound issues in the German version. But the German dub is great of Baldur's Gate 2, aside from that. It is phenomenal. Like the voice actors they had for that, absolutely brilliant. That is top tier. But I can't see that fucking dungeon anymore. I just can't. maybe like if I could just skip all of that and have all the content done of that with and have the class creation after it. Yeah, then I might try it again, but doing it and then saving and having your save spot, well, then your class locked, so that doesn't work.
Did you hear the voice of John Irenicus in the English version at least?
No, I have not heard Irenicus in English.
Okay, well, the guy who played him died actually last year. His name was David Warner, and once you hear that voice, it's like, oh, that's Irenicus. Like it resonates so well.
Okay. I can dig up some sound files and we can compare the English into German just from the sound of it. Doesn't matter if you don't understand it. But this is top tier voice acting. This game.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, especially 2. The acting is so tight. It's so good. So
yeah, it's where they still took the series as an art form.
Yeah, and
practiced it as an art form, trained for it as an art form.
Even with Planescape, like it's partially voiced, so you'll have like some scenes or combat. It's like, oh yeah, they actually spent 20 takes to get the right, everything sounds good. And when they come to the scenes with like Grace or Mort, it's like, yep, that is exactly the way they should sound. Anyway, back to Jim.
Pathetically be made in somebody else's with dialogue options that nobody is forced to engage with. It's the same braying we...
If it's in the character creator, you are forced to engage with this bullshit ideology, Jim. Fuck off.
Yeah, and the romance of Steve in Mass Effect 3 is nothing special. It's basically, my husband died... I'm so sad. Let me put my sorrows into Shepard, who is suddenly gay.
Yeah, the thing is, when you mentioned this before, when in the advertising, all these articles, you hear that they went to the effort of making a sex scene with a shape-shifted druid, which basically makes it sodomy. And they neglected making relationship paths with some of the female characters instead. That tells you something about the game, that the attention is focused in the wrong areas.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself, why would you focus on this over that?
Yeah, the only major normal character, I think, was Shadowheart, but she's a main character with a main plot object. So it's kind of like, oh, you're going to focus on her anyway, but that's the only normal one. Everyone else have to be evil or whatever the fetish is. So I was like, that's kind of strange. Like, you didn't have more than one option for the standard heterosexual group. It's got to be like bisexual or this or that.
Oh, and by the way, technically, you could say Baldur's Gate does force a trans issue on you if you accidentally put on the cursed belt of sex change. But that is for laughs.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing big to it.
Options in Mass Effect. I mean, as miserable hatred and ignorance existing, it's hard not to find their self-defeat and feeble oversensitivity fucking funny. This insecure and twisted little mindset is experienced by a significant number of alleged gamers, so poisoned by their own
so you're attacking
hatred.
Why did you just show a child?
Why are you attacking people who call themselves gamers who are in fact gamers? This is a silly thing to argue. As if Jim is the true gamer. He or she knows better than all the other gamers who disagree with him.
Yeah, and we don't play games like Baldur's Gate for the sex. We play it for good writing. And when we see what is being focused on, and that this insane ideology creeps in that is known for ruining writing, then that is a big red flag for why should I even bother it, especially at full price, while I have all these other games I still need or want to play or replay.
It's strange because anyone who's ranting about you have to talk to me in a certain way is usually, at least classically, seen as a villain. And we can see that all throughout the 90s games with the flamboyant, I wouldn't say no, what's the term? Yeah, I would say flamboyantly gay characters outside of some of the Suikoden characters, because they do have flamboyant characters in Suikoden who are side characters who are there to be functional, like we could change the color of your window or the sound of your select icon. Like they have all these characters, and the music starts playing, the accordion music starts playing with this theme, and you know, oh, okay, there's an artistic weirdo coming out the door. It's like, I will change the curtain for your room. It's like, okay, that's your thing. Let's do it. But that's the whole point of the game, is to collect people for your castle. So you're like, great, come on board, do your thing, and we want you on our town we're building. So there's that, and then there's the weirdo like Flea from Chrono Trigger, where it's like he's flamboyant, or he or she is flamboyant and a villain, and it's that sort of, you must address me as this, or you must think of me as that. It's like,
I don't care, you're the villain.
Yeah, you're a bad person. So there's very few that I could think of outside of the tomboyish girl, or the not the tsundere, but that sort of mentality female who people, like, there's always like a conflict between the party, between one or the other, like in the Dragon Age, between I was going to say Liana, but she's pretty sweet to everyone. But the witch and the prince, what's his name? Oh, why am my name blanking?
Joker?
Well, that's Mass Effect. No, I was gonna say.
Yeah, but he's the Joker character.
Yeah, it's that sort of like, oh, he's the guy we make fun of all the time. He's the go-to joke, and which the Wilds is the one who's always the smarter one making the joke. So, and then the sex scene between them is purely plot related. So, you know, it's like they have these things for a reason. They're written well, and it makes sense. Anyway, I'm sure people.
Wait, Berserker Goji in the chat nailed it down pretty well. He said the bear fiasco in Baldur's Gate 3 wouldn't be an issue at all if they didn't advertise the heck out of it and media outlets weren't trashing on Japanese games for featuring sexuality. That's a good point.
What's the problem with
They're
Japanese
hypocrites.
games?
Because the women look like women.
Okay.
They have curves. They have slim waists. They have butts. They have big boobs. They have pretty faces. And that is bad. Because women must look like trash heaps. So that the insecure Western socialist asshole women don't feel outdone by some prettier girls.
I will say some of the JRPGs are a bit too fashion conscious, but that's the nature of manga.
That's just the Japanese.
Yeah. So like,
I am not a fan of their of some of their fashion directions.
yeah. Oh,
It's just I think some is also to present their own drawing skills.
definitely.
It still looks better than the stuff that is produced in the West.
Well,
I cannot deny that.
I would say the characters from Dragon Age Origins, that the younger versions, they look just fine. They're very well articulated. Their faces look very good. You can see when they're talking and they're feeling something. So Morrigan, Liliana, Alistair, even the new stuff with Inquisition when they switched over to Frostbite looked very good. So Cassandra, Dorian, all those guys. Like that's the thing. They look good, if not great. So when you get to Andromeda, and they have the same engine, you would think they would look great, and all the characters in Andromeda look like ass. You're like, how did this happen? And there's all these arguments why. Oh, BioWare, how they screw up is amazing. It's always like why does this suck this time? You did so well last year. Like, what happened? Yeah. Anyway, let us continue.
Obsession for them. I've lost count of the Steam forums asking if a game they're interested in is woke before they buy it because they're that laughably terrified of potential exposure to someone who isn't white and cis.
No,
that's not it. It's not it, Jim. We know what woke is. It is socialist, degenerate propaganda that is badly written and ugly. That's why we don't want it.
I remember.
It's not because of the gay.
Last week, the people I was arguing with on Twitter are saying, why are you so concerned about pronouns? You're using them in speech right now. It's like that has nothing to do with the issue. It's not
Martin
about...
Bailey.
Yeah, it's like saying, oh, because the topic involves this element of grammar, therefore, why are you arguing when you're using that grammar to communicate? It's like there's rules of grammar, which I'm not breaking. And now the issue involves one of a word, a category of words, which has nothing to do with the concept of the argument.
Why are you so afraid of drinking chlorine? It's in your salt.
It's not. It could have been about adjectives. It could have been about any element of grammar. It doesn't matter if it's pronouns. It's the fact that weirdos with mental conditions are trying to assert some language laws, which they have done successfully in Canada, by the way, which we should be changing in the next 10 years after we boot the Liberals out of office, is seeping into your hobbies, or my hobby, which should not belong.
Yeah, because compelled speech is then enforced in other aspects of life.
You can go to jail.
That includes the products that are made in your country.
If you guys don't even know Mike Ward, the guy who said a dark joke in 2012 in Quebec on a non-televised show about a kid who was on one of those Make-A-Wish Foundation kids. They're going to die soon or whatever. So they give him their wish. He wanted to sing for the Pope. He did. And the joke was, why is this kid still alive? I thought he was on, death row or whatever. And the kid is still alive to this day. So you're like, wait a second, that's it? He didn't want the kid die. He just asked, why is the kid still alive? And he didn't. This is a French comedian, so he's speaking in French. So very few people knew of this, and he got sued by some organization in Canada for like $80,000. That got reduced to $37,000. That got thrown out. Now he's getting sued by the parents on some other higher court for like $400,000. It's just like this has been going on for 11 years. But this for a comedian just telling a joke. And now we have enforced laws for you cannot use improper pronouns, which I don't even know how they're going to enforce that for people. We had the story of the father in BC in Canada who did not want to call his son, or I can't remember, his daughter?
His kid. Say his kid.
Yeah, he didn't want to do that. He was taken to court. He lost.
Yeah, and the kid was pre-puberty.
Yeah, and this is like...
it's just made up shit. You can't diagnose a kid that age.
And this is a father and their child, and the child's been brainwashed to think this way. And it's like, this is insane.
And they're breaking the family apart.
Yeah.
And this is what they did in socialism, in East Germany and elsewhere in the Soviet Union. They made up excuses to break up your family when they heard that allegedly the accusation was enough by neighbors that didn't like you, that you were somehow against the party, to somehow criticize the party, and that would be so you were not politically correct. And it doesn't matter whether that was actually the case. The accusation was enough to justify taking away your children and force adopting them into regime happy families.
So this is
that was a basic practice, and this is what Canada is doing now.
Yeah, this is just Canada. So you guys are aware of gender ideology, of course. This is what the talk is about. We now have a Bill C-4, which has been passed,
because they're trying to classify this as child abuse.
Well,
when the actual child abuse is the indoctrination of children to believe this crap.
We do have some this is a weird thing. Back in 2019, both the liberals and the conservatives signed Bill C-4, which prevents forced conversion therapies. But unfortunately, before then, a study was done that 20,000 kids, or 20,000 Canadians in general, not just kids, were forced into conversion therapy because of these practices that no one was checking. So it's a mixed bag. At least it's a good thing that something was done. But that's Canada. We have these language issues. In America, they've got the sexualization of kids with the textbooks. I don't know about the rest of America.
Oh, we've had this in big left-wing newspapers here in Germany. They reported about that, but only in the way of, the conservatives, they want to ban books in the schools in the United States. It's a free speech issue. Oh, they're so bad, human rights violations. And they had a big photo. The big photo in the article was a stack of the books being banned. And I saw it's all the books that contain all this pedophile bullshit. So they know, the people who made this photo, they know what's in those books. The authors of that article know what's in those books, but they're not telling their leftist readers here in Germany what is in those books.
Well, there's other issues, like because of the Liberal Party in power, safe injection sites. So they have legalized, this is federally, I don't know about the provinces, but they have legalized heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl.
Oh,
okay.
God, fentanyl.
So they've legalized these drugs.
I think that's how Portland went down.
Well, the death rate has skyrocketed. The crime rate has skyrocketed. The suicide rate has skyrocketed. And now we have, well, this was even before that, these legalized suicide laws.
Isn't that a form? Well, isn't the safe injection site thing in practice, in effect, like what it produces? Isn't that also basically state-funded suicide or state-funded destruction of people, of the poor?
Well, the theory was, it's like a libertarian theory. If you make everything legal, nothing will be, everything will be regulated.
I know what the theory behind it is, but in effect, all the policy that the left puts out leads to more deaths, more suicides, and more castration. So all of it leads to less people alive.
Yeah, so we've had at least an increase of about, I'd say, 800 to 900% in one city like Vancouver. This is where they measure it because there's so many drugs of deaths and overdoses. And
then they say, oh, we have too few people. We need more immigrants, or our economy will bust.
That's funny. Yeah, we had it was reported today. 40,000 new jobs in Ontario, but 100,000 new immigrants. So it's like, oh,
we're also too many people on the planet, and we use too much energy in the first world. Let's get people from the third world into the first world so that they use more energy and have more kids in the first world where they use more energy. And while we have too many people on the planet, also the economy, and
so
it's just all bullshit.
Yeah. So in Vancouver, there's 4 violent assaults every day. And in Toronto, there's at least a stabbing once a week. So
wow,
it's getting kind of weird.
This is not the reputation of Canada I grew up with.
No. So I'm not going to talk about politics anymore. It's a long issue that I have a lot of problems in my country for sure.
Yeah, but in short, Jim is, of course, because what else could he do, misrepresenting what people's problems with woke is. They don't want your communist fantasies, Jim. Your ideology is what created Lysenkoism and the stupid hunt for sparrows and countless famines and other madness that killed millions and millions of people. And we could make an argument that the current policies of the left are also killing masses, untold masses of people. It almost seems like maybe the old mass deaths were out of incompetence, but these right now, they seem to be deliberate, because I cannot believe that people are this dumb, seeing the effects and not stopping the policies. All right. I think you want people dead.
All right. Hopefully that's not the case, but that's what the policies end up going to. Again, I don't want to talk about politics anymore. It's kind of tiresome.
Well, Jim started it.
If he brings up a political issue, we'll talk about just that issue. How's that? Okay. Let's keep going.
It's the forefront of these people's minds now, so utterly possessed by prejudice as they are. They don't care whether or not a game is fun, whether or not a game is made well, but whether or not it's nebulously woke. It's
Yeah, because we don't want to support that shit. Aren't you the people who always say that this or that needs to be boycotted? Well, this is just that. But it's done against you.
Wasn't Jim talking about Hogwarts, and he didn't like it because the turf is making money off that or some sort of nonsense?
Oh, how thin-skinned of him.
Yeah, I think did we cover that? I can't remember, but
how petty can you be?
We must have done some video on that. I remember talking about it. So it's like people are still playing Starfield. I'm sure Starfield's a great game, and I'm sure whoever did that inclusion of dumb stories and gender crap in the start is not going to reveal themselves for obvious reasons. So I'm going to eventually play Starfield, just not this year. And it's going to take me a few years. $90 is a bit too much, I think. For $120 or 120 gigabyte download, and then a day one patch, which is like another 20 gigabytes on top. I can wait. I can wait till the modders fix things, and
no game is worth $90, especially digital buy.
Yeah,
that is a collector's edition box that has good things in it.
Even Baldur's Gate 3 is 120 gigs, so they're gigantic games. And
I'm not talking about the gigabytes. I'm talking about the dollars.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. I'm happy playing the indie games. I think Sea of Stars just came out. Yeah, like a few weeks ago. I played that, and $40. Yeah, Anyway.
How fixated on wokeness they are, and the implication with this is downright threatening, but all I want to do is make fun of these absolute rifles. The regressive reactionaries have become so fucking routine and predictable that it's almost tragic. Literally, any time a new piece of nerd-focused media comes out, you need only wait a matter of minutes before the alt-right outrage machine whirs into gear as agitators and...
Oh no, we're alt-right. Jim, we're just not communists.
We're the outrage machine? Critics are the outrage...
Jim, we are not the ones screaming at the sky because the Orange Man was elected. We're not having our 20 minutes of hate every day during the Trump reign. over America that was so bad that not one war was started. Man, but he really broke with tradition there.
Yeah, when Az is ranting, he's ranting because his immersion is broken, and he paid his $90 or whatever it is in American dollars, and he's angry about it, and that's fair. You could be angry about the thing you bought and having buyer's remorse. That's totally normal, and it's subjective.
Yeah, and suddenly it's basically like suddenly the Soviet anthem is playing in the middle of your game. Like, why? It's if it's a joke, at least, but it isn't. And the thing is, the clip from Az that I when it was posted to me, and I didn't know it was an Az clip, and it was just this character, this clone character, talking about, yeah, well, I have to tell you something, and my first thought was as well, oh, you're a guy. Before the character said it, and before Az said it, and I think it's telling and it is sad that not only can we anticipate that, which 10, 20 years ago was an absolute joke, like it was the joke reveal that you wouldn't take seriously, that you would play for laughs. No, now it is the anticipated answer to this thing, and it is correct each fucking time.
And the way it was revealed is silly.
So bad.
Because this could be a normal part of a futuristic sci-fi space opera story where I'm a clone of the villain and I have to stop him. It's like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. But it's like, oh wait, I'm not a clone. I'm a genetic spliced version of the, like, what? What is like? You don't even. You know what you are? Like, what?
In Cyberpunk, it was at least played out better, but it was just as unnecessary.
The great thing about that is because you're in that world, everyone is this cybernetic augment machine that can change their body parts and do all this thing. So that's the norm, right? That's like, oh yeah, okay, everyone's got this modification thing going for them. They could jump into the net. They could change their arm around. That's great. That's the world. In the future, 300 years from now, where we have this more realistic, believable world of space exploration and aliens and this and that, you would imagine there's a mad scientist, someone breaking the rules to clone people or do some sort of, I don't know, army. Let's make some augments, like you're talking, like some Star Trek augment eugenics war or something. It's like, okay, fine, great. Work with that theme, work with that plot, go with it. But the way it was delivered was like, oh, I'm a clone. Wait, no, I'm not a clone. I'm a genetically modified whichever. And you're like, then you're not a clone.
Then, yeah, exactly. Because then technically that's more like you're a daughter.
Yeah, like I could CRISPR my genome to make a gamete and then CRISPR my genome to make a female gamete, and I can combine them to make whatever. And it's like you're a test tube baby from the genetic material of whatever. Like that's nothing special, right?
Yeah, and the 23rd chromosome pair being this different, like being the other sex, has so many affects the development of the fetus in such an extreme way that you couldn't call that a clone anymore. That is a completely different person.
Right, and if you're making a genetic copy to just be gametes, you would need a male because you can't use that from a female. There's no Y chromosome to work with. So all you would do is clone the X chromosome to make a second X chromosome, use that in your female gamete, and then ba-boom, test tube baby, grow them naturally, and you got a genetic copy, which is not a perfect copy because, again, we're talking about meiosis. You're not talking about mitosis. You're crossing over of linked pairs. You're dividing the gamete in half. So it's like, oh, so you're just a test tube baby of some guy. What's your point? Is this were you born to be the heir of
whoever wrote
dynasty?
That? So either the character, but more likely the person who wrote that, didn't pay attention in high school biology.
Oh, it's basic shit. Like compare that to freaking Miranda
But
Lawson.
I mean, it's high school biology. You have that in high school.
Yeah, Miranda Lawson in Mass Effect 2. She's got the genetic clone of her dad, but she's got some problems. Like she can't have kids. She has this dynasty to look after. She doesn't want it. Like there's all this plot. There's all these reasons why she's against her dad. She nearly killed him. She has a sister.
Also, by that same logic, Miranda is trans.
Really?
Yeah, but it's the same logic. It's the same logic as used for this bullshit character.
Well, at least BioWare was not completely retarded when they wrote Miranda.
Not then.
Yeah.
They were on the downturn.
That's true. Anyway, let's keep going. Vladimir, thank you, sir. Seeing how Canada is a bit euthanasia happy, I'll stick to paying $5,000 for some stitches. Thanks. There's some really sad stories of veterans being asked, "Oh, if it's too hard, would you like to die? We can help you with that." It's like, what? A veteran? Are you out of your... That is one of the most insulting things I've heard in Canada in the past year, to recommend death to a veteran. What they did to this particular story, this female veteran...
You could not break the Hippocratic oath more than with this program.
Yeah, this lady was on a wheelchair. She's a veteran for all her life. And they changed the disability money for replacing your wheelchair from every 4 years to every 12 years. So she was in a lot of pain, and because her wheelchair, after 7 years, she had to get it repaired, and they didn't offer it anymore, so she had to get drugs and all this other stuff. And it was so bad. She's like, I can't get up my stairs anymore. I can't do this. And the clinician said, "Well, we could."
What I think she was the case who just wanted a stair lift.
She just wanted a new wheelchair because it wasn't working as well, and she couldn't. Well, the stair lift is another issue, and she couldn't get to the stair lift or whatever the case was. And one of the recommendations or suggestions was, "Well, we can help you assisted suicide," which is something you should never say to a soldier or any veteran.
Anyone.
Or anyone for that matter. Yeah,
it's why we make such jokes about it, because we are not allowed to say kill yourself anymore. Now we say, hey, Canadian healthcare yourself.
Yeah, I know. It's getting a little...
Because apparently the government is allowed to say kill yourself.
It's
when your ever more authoritarian government is offering kill yourself programs, it's not gonna just be voluntary in the future.
This is kind of interesting because the people who used to help with abortions, there's a new drug that came out last year called Mifestone, something like that. It's an abortion drug. So you take it and boom.
It's literally named after the devil.
Mifepri Stone. I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry.
Wait.
Mife Pristone. It's an abortion drug. So this doctor who was doing abortions realized, I can just give you this drug. It's very invasive, or uninvasive. It makes my life easier, but that means she has to find a new specialization. So her new specialization was euthanasia, because she's used to killing fetuses. Now she can kill people. So, she's telling her story, how she switched to that profession, and now it's a thing. And to be fair, a lot of people do need euthanasia. A lot of old people with a lot of pain, and it's not just this purely scientific thing. There's a priest involved. There's the family involved. It's not just we're going to kill you. So there's lots of consultation. But the fact that she came from this abortion background and went to euthanasia is a bit weird to the average listener.
Hey, I specialize in killing people. I am a doctor. I am here to help by killing people. What the fuck is wrong with you? This is just it's the greatest violation of the Hippocratic Oath. And I mean, I said that before. It's just so hard to process that this is a thing. The only case for euthanasia where I could understand understand it is in case of dementia and Alzheimer, because that is that is strain on the patients, on the families, and those patients usually just don't want to be a strain on their families anymore. And it is an excruciating thing. But still, it's, as we can see in Canada, this is just being abused. It is worse than the death penalty. Because the death penalty also can hit the wrong person, which is the main reason on why it shouldn't be there, even though there are certainly crimes that deserve it. But with this assisted suicide stuff, those are innocent people. And they are talked into killing themselves for profit of the state so that the numbers look nicer. What is this other than not treating you like an individual, but like a number? You're not a name, you're a number. Which is the exact thing that we wrote Human Rights Charter against, that the Germans wrote their constitution against, because that is what the Nazis did. They treated people as numbers, as statistics, not as individuals. There is no dignity, there's no humanity in these programs. And before you, if it still escapes you, Nazis were socialists, and the socialists did the same thing. I think it was Stalin who said that one death is a tragedy, a million is statistics. And this MAID program, that is statistics.
All right, let's get back to the video. Here's some super chats, and we'll continue on. Legacy, thank you, sir. The one female clone I would think of, X23, but that's because it's easier to clone an XX chromosome than an XY, but it gets dumber with Honey Badger. I think she was a clone from Logan, and Logan is an XY, obviously. And that's what I mean by, if you're going to create a new being in the natural way, so you get genetic material, you're going to need a male to make a male, or rather, you need an XY, because women don't have a Y chromosome. So, obviously you could play around with that in your story. You could make all kinds of crazy gene splicing arguments and how that works. But it's comic books, so.
I mean, someone in the chat also mentioned Omega from The Bad Batch, which was a heavily modified clone of Jango Fett that is a girl. And deliberately was made a girl so that she wouldn't be easily noticed as being a clone of Jango Fett. It's the typical, let's hide the important character as the other sex so nobody will make the connection.
All right.
But since I forgot the name, not the Geonosians, the clone people, the clone makers in Star Wars, their entire society is run on running this clone industry. So they are advanced enough to pull off this stuff. No questions.
Oh, you mean the Caminans or the Caminos?
Yes, the Caminoans.
All right. One more from Vladimir. Thank you, sir. My euthanasia plan is the 9mm in my safe. And as a bonus, it's free. Well, let's not go there, but I'm glad you figured it out. Okay. Back to Jim. We're not even halfway done.
For signs of so-called wokeness to terrify their audiences with. Wokeness that always boils down to a gay or a
Oh, wait, another one. Also, you're going in the wrong direction again, Jim. You're lying. But isn't your side also the one that sees dog whistles about alt-right neo-Nazi extremist shit everywhere? Now you're accusing people of seeing the woke where it is?
Yeah, it's always alt-right or right-leaning or grifters or the...
Which is a word that the socialists learned from their critics. Because they called the socialists grifters first. Because the socialists are grifters. That is the entire thing of virtue signaling is grifting. None of these people believe any of the shit they say when virtue signaling. We see this. Everything is projection. Everything of these activists, including Jim, is projection. Oh, Martin Bailey.
In it for a few minutes. Oh, and
No, that's
sometimes
not
just
it.
cis women as well. If a woman looks strong in any way for even a moment, it's gone away.
You're lying,
These
Jim.
fucking clowns lost their shit over that Lord of the Rings show not having an all-white cast. And the blink and you'll
No,
miss it.
Jim, that's not it.
No
You're
one said
lying
that.
again.
No
Do we
one
need to
said
go
that.
over every point? I
No,
mean,
that-
we know these things.
Yeah, no, that was that. I don't know where he got that from because I don't recall anyone complaining about the cast being not white enough. The issue was the black archer elf. Was where did
The
he
issue
come from?
was race wars with people, especially the elves, that don't have people of these races in them because they're their own race.
Yeah, the same issue with Ragnarok, the God of War game, of the giants being of a certain color. Well, they're shapeshifters. It's like, well, how did they learn about black people? I mean, I don't care how they got there, but you already had lore from the previous game of elves being dark elves, which were gray in color. They were underground or whatever.
Yeah.
Fine, use that. Like, I don't care. Just have it make sense. You don't need to throw in races for no reason without explaining.
Yeah, they also turned other gods or mythological figures of Norse mythology randomly into black people. Like, was it Ingvi? The guy who was shapeshifted into a boar in the first game.
Well, they turned Odin into a Jew from New York, so I think that's pretty...
Yeah, that is also odd, and very strange implications that has the way he conducts himself.
Yeah.
It's more like this is the Chilul Hashem type, but that's its own thing. Yeah, and then the thing with the giants is just the stupidest thing, because if you look into the mythology and as well into history, where these tribes moved, how they got up there. The giants are described as tall and red-haired, and as this Indo-Germanic culture moved up from India, it is not unlikely that on their way they crossed paths with the Denisovans, who were very tall and red-haired, and, well, intermingled with them a little bit, because Thor, for example, is a son of Odin and a giant. That's where he got his red hair from. So he's a half-giant. You could then say, well, does that mean he's half Denisovan, for example? But, hey, but somehow we need to scram Africans into all. Makes no sense. By the way, the Denisovans lived to the east, where it's cold, were tall, and red-haired people. The giants in Norse mythology were giants, red-haired, lived in the east. Man, I wonder if there's a connection. The papers haven't been written yet, by the way.
Okay. We are at 9 minutes, almost and a half.
We want authentic. The short answer is we want authentic stuff that respects the actual material. That's it.
Okay.
Light years sustained anti-woke grifters on social media for
You mean China?
weeks. That last one was so talking about a practical background occurrence easily able to be censored for certain territories because of course was so incredibly minimal, not just in contrast to the hysteria it caused, but just fucking minimal in general. But that's the level of irrational frothing hatred we're dealing with here. Our existence as queers is such a raw nerve to these bloody crybabies that they can't
No, the crybaby, Jim. You're the crybaby right
so
now.
wait,
And you're always the crybaby. Your side is the crybabies. You're projecting again. Grow the fuck up.
Is there a difference between homosexuals and queers? Like, what is he referring to? Just queer in general? Like, people are weird?
I think he's using the term interchangeably. But the way that because they distinguish it must be something different. Queer is the way they established it, because there's no reason to have this Q attached in these letters.
Yeah.
People who are not homosexual, bisexual, trans, or anything of sexual orientation issues. They're normal people. They just want to dress weird. So basically, queer is admitted narcissism.
Right, because I know plenty of wonderful gay or lesbian people, and they don't call themselves queer at all. They never have. They look like normal people. They dress like normal people. And
so by this logic, basically, punk is queer.
Well, I don't know.
Because it's against societal norms.
That's such a weird thing to say.
That's all. That's why this term is bullshit. It is the excuse term to associate yourself into the oppressed group of LGBTQ plus IA2F whatever asterisk without having any of the issues of those groups.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how the affiliation between, let's say, you are liberal-minded or you like the liberal platform in Canada, for example, just because I know it. It's like, I agree with that, and I agree with the climate accord issues and being taxed and public school. Like, it's this entire belief system. It's not just the sexual stuff. It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like... Sorry, Mike? Go ahead.
I was going to say, with Jim doing the, oh my god, old lesbians kissing in the Buzz Lightyear movie. I mean, to be fair, the whole movie was kind of... It's not the lesbian part that's the worst thing. It's just the whole movie itself is fucking garbage.
Oh, really?
Because it's fucking... The whole thing with that whole movie is that it's just Buzz fighting old Buzz from a different timeline.
Oh.
Oh god, it's a bad time travel movie?
It's bad timeline Buzz going to fucking new Buzz going, oh hey, you know, we could reverse the problems that began this stupid movie. Don't you want that, Buzz? And then it's like, no. He looks
Mike,
at the picture for the old people he cared about.
Mike, that's the second Lego movie.
Oh my god. And they just did a second Lego movie, but they fucked it up somehow.
Yeah, this is just a plot from the Lego movie too.
What's called the worst part in this whole thing is they add in a line for the old Buzz going, I don't like the way you think or your new ways. We're gonna fix that. And then he gets knocked down, and then they do this whole stupid fucking chase and everything. The whole movie is fucking garbage.
When Jim complains that, oh, it's censored for other territories. Well, Jim, doesn't that mean you are China-phobic and Islamophobic? Because that's the groups that censor this stuff. You're not respecting their cultures, Jim.
If anything, if you want to watch a good Buzz Lightyear movie, just go watch the Buzz Lightyear Star Command thing. Pilot for his old TV series. It's way, way better than this convoluted time travel nonsense.
All right.
Probably more innocent.
Here's another super chat from Vladimir Dragunov. Thank you, sir. Let's not get started on Egypt suing Netflix for Cleopatra. Is that serious?
Are they doing?
That is serious.
That's amazing.
I love it.
I heard they wanted to, but are they actually?
I think Germany should sue Disney for Rachel Zegler and her comments about Snow White. I think that would be even more amazing.
Yes. Oh! Any European country could do that. But yeah, I think we should especially. We should also, together with Poland and Israel, we should all three together join up and sue Netflix for the show Hunters.
Really?
Yeah. Holy shit. Like, I just finished that finally with Mike. Like, for months I've put it off because I just didn't have the mind for it. Holy shit. That skewing history is one thing, but that is just torture. That is just torture porn.
It is questionable redemptions. Oh, hey, you want this character to be redeemed? Nope. He's just evil Nazi man.
And they just lie about history. They portrayed. It's one of the softest problems of that show was that they portrayed Werner von Braun as an evil scientist Nazi. Werner von Braun didn't give a shit about the fucking ideology. He just wanted to build rockets to go to the moon.
Well, I don't know exactly the body who's suing Netflix, but I'm assuming that whoever is in charge of stories or cultural, like maybe a cultural minister of Germany or any country, of saying, hey, you're using not our copyright, but using our story in an inappropriate way, the same way Egypt is suing.
Smart, that could only work if we had a functioning conservative party that was in power, and that is not what we have. What we have is Stalinists and Maoists in coalition.
I thought that,
and rhinos.
I thought there'd
Don't
be,
forget the rhinos.
Yeah, but I thought there'd be at least some, not necessarily political, but people who are culturally motivated, because there's so many stories.
I don't think they even know of this movie here in Germany.
Well, no, I'm just saying that of all the countries I could think of, I think Germany would have the most stories, like childhood stories, fables, fairy tales, that there'd be an expert, like a PhD professor, going, whoa, you cannot start changing the way this thing has been told unless there's some legal thing they can go through. Of all the other European countries I could think of, I could be wrong, but I think Germany would have the most sensitive people about
because we have the compendium basically that the Brothers Grimm made.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But you had versions of all of these fairy tales all over the place, all over the continent, that were all slightly different. As I said last time, there are versions where it's not 7 dwarfs but 7 giants, very different, or 7 dragons or 7 bandits. Those are all things, and all the other elements can also be slightly different. But that begs the question, or rather it helps figure out, what is the actual core of the story. And that is being violated in this Disney shit. Or this pseudo-Disney shit.
Yeah, usually when Disney makes a film based off a fairy tale, they water it down and simplify it, and they cut out a lot of parts, which is fine. But the core or the idea is still there of the main characters and the main plot and the main conflict. So,
yeah. So when Zegler says that, oh, Snow White, she doesn't even need the prince; she's her own boss, and all of that, that is a violation of the core of the story.
Yeah.
No, she's going to be a proud independent socialist. What time were the years that Snow White took place again?
I'm sorry, they made Gal Gadot the witch for because she went against the woke, so she gets the evil role.
Oh, really?
But I'm sorry, Gal Gadot is tons, levels, dimensions more pretty than this bitch girl.
Needs a little bit of improvement.
That'd be funny if the mirror on the wall goes, yeah, it's totally you. Yeah, there's no one else.
Yeah. Wait, that's this the print. No, sorry. No, yeah, it's you. It's you. Don't worry. Nothing to worry about. Also, you have the nicer character. You have more humanity in you than Snow White.
Okay, here's one more from Vladimir, and we'll get on with the video. We could stop, I'd say, another minute or two, because he is really just ranting and not saying.
Would you just crank it on 2 speed?
Oh, we could do that, but it's going to be hard to listen to because he's already very quick.
Yeah.
So,
high-pitched.
Vladimir, thank you. I think Poland is too busy looking for anything to invoke Article 5.
Oh, God.
What's happening with Poland these days that they have to do that? Who's invading Poland?
It's Article 5 means that if a NATO country gets attacked, then the whole NATO thing blows up into Russia's face, which means retaliation in form of, I kept forgetting what the Marshall Plan, was that it? Or am I mixing that up? The thing where Central Europe is preemptively turned into a nuclear wasteland in order to halt Russian advance, which is great because we're gone then, and you can't make Nazi jokes anymore.
Yeah, guys, in case you don't know how the war is going, Russia is winning, okay?
I'm not surprised.
It would take a miracle unless heavily involvement from other forces like China, which is not going to happen, or America, which is kind of happening but not really.
I think Poland is just deporting several tens of thousands, I think something between 30 and 80,000 Ukrainian young men in fighting age back to Ukraine, because what the fuck why are you not fighting for your country?
Yeah. Well,
how are they supposed to win?
Yeah, it's none of my business, but every time I look at the news, there's always some Ukrainian like shooting a gun and winning, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Uh-huh.
The Ukrainians are winning, you say? Like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, there are lots of rich Ukrainians here in Germany driving very fat cars, and they're not getting tickets because they are not parking tickets because that can't really be followed through because that has to be sent to Ukrainian officials. So the Germans are miffed because if Germans are miffed about one thing, it is being treated unequally when it comes to traffic laws. So when there are foreigners who are treated better with traffic violations than us, that gets Germans very miffed and racist.
All right, here's the Corporal. We get on with the video. Lord Farquaad picked Fiona because an ogre is nicer. Is that Fiona in her?
But he didn't know the catch, though.
Yeah, because does that mean he picked her as an ogre, or he picked her out in her human form?
Oh, he picked her because he saw the pretty half, you know?
Okay, makes sense. Anyway. We're almost at the halfway mark. We'll go on for another minute and a bit because he has said nothing of value outside of his hatred for people he disagrees with, which is like good for you, but this is not a video, dude. Anyway.
Handle us for a few seconds. It's quite empowering in a way.
Summer night, ocean paradise, whale calls.
No. White noise is fine.
Very well.
Good night, Socks.
Good night, Buzz.
Is this video game woke?
I've made this point before. I get people on social media, I get people coming into my comments saying the most disgusting, hateful, violent things they can to try and...
That's just the echo, Jim. As you shout into the forest, so it shouts back at you.
But nothing they can say will ever upset me as much as me simply breathing upsets them. That's a...
What?
Have you listened to your video, Jim? Did you write a script for this, or are you just venting?
I am offended by Jim existing. No, I think you getting drop kicked in the face is very entertaining. Can you please post more of those of you?
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah.
You will get way more views with that.
Jim, enjoy being in the limelight of a fighting ring where you get the piss knocked out of you. I think I will watch you more. How's that? Go for it. Break some more doors. Eat some more doors. I don't care. Go for it.
Jim, we don't even... Yeah, chat is right. Was that Ken? Yeah. We don't think about you when we don't have to cover any of your videos. We forget you exist. Just probably the worst that can happen to Jim from Jim's perspective when he's not being noticed by anyone anymore. Like Morgan Le Fay, he ceases to exist once nobody recognizes him anymore as existing.
Yeah, like what's next? Does he have to like jump out of a plane and have that being filmed, and him like wearing his hat and flying it off his head, and his wig takes off? Like what? I want to see if Jim, if his parachute doesn't open, bounces off the ground, or if he has to put on more weight like movie ball. Jim is bigger.
Maybe there's a level of fatness where you don't turn into a red splotch, but instead you bounce off.
The impact of the fat cushions your blow.
Yeah, I mean it's how mountain lions survive falling from the cliff sides. They just completely relax and basically bounce off the ground. That's why they don't just die falling 20 meters into down.
All right. Well, let's see if Jim breathing is enough to me to go into a murderous rage to leave a comment or something.
Give a go. And they get on their knees offering it freely. And you should see how desperately some of the wankers want to intellectualize their outrage too, because they're so cowardly they can't outright admit their hatred. In user reviews for Baldur's Gate 3, this phenomenon has manifested in a...
Yeah, this is what I mean. This is what Jonathan Haidt found out. Conservatives think leftists are wrong, and leftists think conservatives and anyone else, anyone not the leftist is the same to them, is evil. That's what Jim insinuates here. Oh, they're just disguising their hatred. He thinks everyone who doesn't agree with him, who doesn't like what he likes, is evil. You're insane, Jim. Get a therapist. Or change meds.
Botanical attitude. Take the one egregious amount of sex that does nothing to further immerse you in the game world or plot. It's simultaneously less believable than a harem anime and more grotesque than pornography.
Yeah, like The Last of Us 2. I would agree. You don't need the bear. Rather develop the other characters.
There's plenty of harem animes I have read that are strange, and some which they go into heavy detail why they're all attracted to the same character, with a social explanation why multiple wives or multiple people are allowed within the society. So it's like, oh, they explain why things are the way they are, as any good writer would write a world. It's like, yeah, oh, what? This doesn't make sense. Let's explain it. Yeah, they'll split an entire episode or comic just going, yeah, this is how the society works. Here's a guy with multiple women. Here's a king with multiple women. It's like, oh, this is normal. Makes sense. The women expect that. They realize the guy who's come in is amazing and can do more things for them than any other guy. Of course, more than one girl would be attracted to him. He's basically a demigod. Gee, I think he might have more than one person interested in him, and the women agree. And sometimes they're slaves. Sometimes they're already in the servitude position where they were saved from death or rape or other horrible things. And they see this savior-like figure who's already saved other women. It's like they might actually like that guy too. And this is multiple stories. Even Mushoku Tensei is one of those, believe it or not, which I've talked about in the past few weeks, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a well-known, very popular manga and anime, which is coming to its conclusion of the second season, this summer season. So, no, people are okay with it. People who are...
Oh, there's another thing I just noticed about the evil versus wrong thing. And I think that's the whole joke about the cosmic joke about it, is that it is exactly the other way around. The socialists who claim that everyone else who doesn't agree with them is evil is projection, which proves itself in how much they wish death upon those that don't agree with them. And you can see it in these power fantasy comics that they make, like the Blobfish and other things, where they have magic powers where they kill the people that don't agree with them or that critique them. And the conservatives, for example, well, they're not evil. They believe that the socialists are just wrong, but the conservatives are wrong about the socialists just being wrong because they are actually evil. That's a joke. It's the other way around. It's gonna, if more people see through these things, it's maybe we'll find a way out of this without civilization collapsing completely, like it did in Rome or India or anywhere else in history where it happened, and it keeps happening around the world over and over again.
Yes, but the left are enlightened, ethically superior individuals. Hubris is not one of their problems.
The anointed.
Yeah, here we go.
The amount of sex you can have in this game might be unbelievable to you, but I think that just speaks to your own experiences.
With video games.
Oh no, he's calling the critics incels.
Yeah, Jim gets all kinds of sex, I'm sure. Mr. Stephanie or whatever.
Mr. Stephanie.
Whatever finds
Mr. Stephanie.
Whoever
Mrs.
finds
James.
That, I was going to say whatever as in it, but I'm sure there's some individual who finds Jim attractive somewhere on the planet. So, when you look like Jim and you make that comment, a little hard to believe that you're saying is true.
Amount of sex in Baldur's Gate 3 is downright conservative compared to real life. Me, some of us is me. Look, I know that for the average...
Jim, if you're going to say something like that, you got to back it up with evidence. And I don't want you to get private or personal about your story, but that's like saying, I just slept with 200 women. It's like, prove it.
It's just, it's a way of reverse bragging. By accusing the others of not having sex, you claim that you have that and more than in the game. So I don't know. Just because people dislike the emphasis of that over other things in the production process, doesn't mean that they don't get sex, Jim.
Like, Jim would have to be going to some sort of tranny pickup bar where all the other weirdos are at, and they're all trying to get each other off. Like, that's the only possible way this is working in my imagination. I'm trying to be nice to Jim here, because I can't think of any normal male or female who looks at Jim and goes, oh yeah, I want some of that. And that Jim is bragging about that, because that is not possible.
I think it's coping.
I'm sorry, Jim, you are far away from being on any metric of sexuality attractive to either sex or trans, non-binary sex that I can even think of. Maybe, I mean, it's possible for those weirdos to be attracted to weirdos. Like attracts like, after all. But for people to, like, I don't care if it's Jim making this statement, but anyone making this statement, like, oh, well, I'm getting a lot more sex than you are. It's like, prove it. It's your statement. Give me evidence. And it doesn't have to be sex. It could be anything. I'm making more money than you are. It's like, prove it. Where's your bank account? Where's your income statement of the month? It's very simple evidence to do that. But this is it's no longer funny, is what I'm trying to say.
And the hypocritical, the question for hypocrisy here is, why then is his political side constantly complaining about good-looking characters in Japanese games? Or good-looking characters anywhere? Because, it's just fat material, it's so exploitative, it's so misogynist. Like, no. Oh, you just want to fap to it because you don't have any sex. Like, it's always the same argument. So if you like the female characters, you just like them because you don't have enough sex. If you don't like the sex in the degenerate socialist way, then you just dislike it because you don't have enough sex. It's not about do you have enough sex or not. It's only about, do you agree with the ideological points or do you not? And if you don't, you get insulted. And it doesn't even matter with what. There's no consistency. The only consistency is, do you agree or don't you agree? If you agree, you're a friend. If you don't agree, you're an enemy who must be destroyed. So it's that simple. Everything else is derived from that. Don't try to look for logic in what comes after that, because the logic is solely in what makes you an enemy and what doesn't.
All right, we got a whole bunch of super chats I got to go through. Sorry about that. The Copper Owl, Farquaad didn't want her because she likes 7 hipsters. Okay.
Don't apologize for getting money.
No, I've just got to read through all these. I'm like, what the heck, 7 hipsters? Is that the new Snow White?
I hope not.
That'd be funny. I would want to watch it just.
But they do look like it.
Yeah, if they got like a bunch of dudes with like hair buns and beards, and they're like miners, but they can barely lift a freaking pickaxe, that'd be funny. The 7 hipsters. Vladimir Dragunov, the blobfish comic that shows a dead fish.
Because when you see the pink blobfish, that is dead. It's always dead. Oh. The actual blobfish lives so deep that the living blobfish looks like a normal fish. But when it comes up to this low pressure up here, then its cells burst. And that's why it then turns into this pink, weird-looking face thing with the protruding nose. It doesn't have that when it is in the deep, when it's alive. The pink blobfish thing is dead. It's always dead, and it's a gruesome death.
All right. Vladimir Dragonoff, one more time. I'm pretty sure sex with Jim constitutes cruel and unusual punishment.
It's like Fat Bastard in Austin Powers.
Yeah, I don't want to even know how that's physically possible. So
I don't know. Ask Movie Bob.
Yeah. One more from Vladimir. Every time Jim buys a fur coat, a whole species goes extinct. Well, you know what? I could actually believe that because he's flamboyant enough to do that, and that's a lot of material. So you'd have to wrap it around.
That is an amazing fat joke.
And it's actually pretty accurate because I've seen plenty of weirdos downtown with fur coats all season long, so it doesn't matter where it's hot or cold, they will wear fur coats for some reason. I don't know why. One more. Copper Owl. I've got chicks more than Jim, and I'm a virgin. Okay, I mean...
Whatever that means.
With VER, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to know his personal life, but he brought it up, so I'm like, okay, Jim, put your facts on the table. Go for it.
Last 2 minutes of craziness.
You want to jump ahead? Yeah, I want to jump ahead. I really do.
Let's at least go for the last.
Yeah, he's just gonna keep insulting people.
Yeah, this is so.
I mean, he said that's all he's
there
gonna
he goes
do.
again in certain people.
Oh, how fitting.
Is that J.K. Rowling?
It's booga booga. It's Rowling. Or rolling, however the hell.
It's the woman who shall not be named.
Yeah. How dare the writer? Now, Rowling, of course, does stupid shit on Twitter where she says lore that never happened in her books after the fact. So that's dumb.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was like knowing more about her past makes me believe that she did that to appease the mob because she came from abusive relationships where she tried to appease her narcissistic husband. And that conditions you into this sort of pattern, this behavior of, oh, people are mean to me. Let's try to appease them, give them what they want, and then they will be nice.
I think it's...
And I think that's what her law changes were.
It's possible. I think it's more to do with because she wrote so much and she missed a lot or could not do everything she wanted, in her head, this is how she thinks the rest of the story is, even though she didn't write it that way. So she's saying, oh, of course, this is what I wanted to do. And this is what in my head would be if I was in that time frame of writing the book. So it's like she didn't write everything she wanted. She has these notes and she has them memorized, and that's just how she
that could be. Maybe it's a mix of both, but I will stick with my hypothesis after I learned this about her past because it fits perfectly.
I was just gonna say it's the Robert Kirkman approach where it's like, oh, I was just a dumb white guy that wrote this comic. It's like, don't denote yourself, man. You wrote good comics. So what? You didn't write something to these people's likings. You know.
All right, 2 minutes. Here we go.
And the influence to spur on a terrifyingly effective hate movement. It's a bit different from a video game letting you pop a dick and tits on the same collection of pixels. In it. Anyway, the point is, Bridget is trans.
No.
Suck it.
It's the extra poo that makes all the difference.
Oh, what?
As
This
alluded
is the
to
end?
towards the end of the video, the same attitude that is having user reviews complain about woke content and depravity and egregious sex that's worse than pornography, and the TERFs, the gender criticals, the people who want to protect women's spaces by banning trans people from everywhere, these are the same attitudes.
You're
and
not
it's another
trans.
reason why I am not ever going to get into a rational debate with any...
Because you cannot make rational arguments. Because your entire position isn't rational.
What a strange thing to say.
You know you're lying. That's why you can't be rational.
I'm never going to have... Like, imagine we disagreed, and I said, Wisp, I'm never going to have an intellectual conversation where we talk as equals and respect each other. I'm never going to do that. It's like, what the hell did you ever do to me to even make me think that way, that I will throw away my intellect and just be a cruel bastard to you? Like, what would you have had to do for this to, like, for my brain to go, you are evil. I'm never going to talk to you like that way again. It's a very strange thing to state, and for you to take me seriously after that statement. Like, that is childish. That is some sort of like, I am embracing my emotions and I don't want to use my intellect at all because I disagree with you or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many signs of, I don't know if this is an example of narcissism. This is something else because...
Well, another example of narcissism is how we see all these expensive decorations. So, look what I own! And that Godzilla movie was shit.
Like, there's something going on that just is... If you heard this in school, if you heard this between a TA and a student and be like, that student either has problems, or if it was the TA saying it, you'd be like, whoa, we got to report this dude. Something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You do not want to be taught by someone like that.
And trying to engage in denial about, like, Bridget being trans, or the person who said of the bestiary, the Vampire Survivors bestiary. No, it's not saying Giovanna's trans. It's an allegory. Assigned major at birth is an allegory. Yes, it's an allegory for being trans. It is all part and parcel of the same.
Was that Vampire Survivor?
Oh, where? Okay. What is an example of an allegory being trans? Can anyone give me an example in stories
an allegory?
If I'm not sure I could say it because I'm not sure it could be I don't know, nice.
Not really. No.
There's an allegory for being a man or a woman, but I've never heard of someone wanting to be trans or the state of being trans. Like, usually that's a thing you want to not be. You want to be something. You don't want to be...
So you don't want a broken bone. You don't want cancer. You don't want any medical condition. You want to be a functional human being with functioning basic functions.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm lacking words here, but like you just want to be normal.
Yeah, you would use a literal representation of a trans character to be an allegory of something else, to show the conflict of inner struggle, and compare that to, let's say, I can't have a relationship with my dad or my lover or whatever the case may be. And
I'd say the closest thing would be, and there's some older RPG makers, because the current ones have more of the ideological fetish bullshit in them. Some old RPG Maker games, most of them were, of course, never finished, that had main characters that were not dysphoric, and they got forced transition through plot reasons and are looking for a way to turn themselves back to normal. That's the closest thing to an allegory to it, I would say.
Right, because I was thinking of Naoto from Persona 4, but that's not an allegory. That's a dark version of her psyche that's twisted to think that she literally wants to be a man, which she doesn't.
Yeah, but it's also a misunderstanding of society. It's just because she wants to do a certain job and she believes she has to be a man to do the job.
Yeah, it's not an allegory about being trans. It's her misunderstanding of wanting to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really want to know what the hell this allegory is that Jim is referring to. Is it a game? Is it a movie? Like, I've never encountered this allegory outside. I always bring this up because it's the only thing that I've seen in the recent years. It's called the third book in the Scythe series called The Toll from Neil Schusterman. I covered it on my channel years ago. The character of Jericho, it's in the future where everyone has immortality. And the people in Madagascar think they are women in the morning and men in the evening. And it makes absolutely no sense when you think about it for about 10 seconds of how this society would act. So, and I was with Jordan Owen. We reviewed the book, and he did his own little rant on that as well. Of when you take the extra minute or 2 minutes, however long it takes, for you to go, wait a second, how can you have an entire society of men and women? Like, wouldn't they talk about basic sexual education at some point and say, wait a second, you have genitals that are different, and yeah, you may think you're a male, but you're definitely a female, even though you have certain emotions. I mean, that's fair, but you're still a female, right? Yeah. Like, that would be so obvious.
Thing where it also doesn't fit right, but it is the ideology played to its conclusion is two of the stories in Stanislav Lem's Star Diaries. In one, he crashes on a planet that has had a history. He's reading the history books in the archives in some monastery, and that society advanced so far technologically that at first allowed body modification in every which way possible, so it overcame the form, and later it advanced further where you could make mental augmentations of any kind, so that the people could come to their true selves and modify themselves to that. That was written in the late 60s, by the way. And it's played out to its logical, horrific Lovecraftian conclusion, and in which the government had phases where it would order people to have certain recommended, politically correct bodies in order to get closer to the development of the true being, and other nonsense like that. And this is the transcendence type that is in this ideology. That is why the ideologues are obsessed with the trans issue, not with the medical condition, but with this whole transcendence of gender, transcendence of the body, and all this modification stuff.
Yeah, see,
that is why. And the other story was, I talked so much about this, not that I forget the other one. No, that was the water story. Right. Right. The other one was where he visited a planet that had developed the perfect society. Of course, because every society he visits is totally perfect, but actually a dystopian hellhole. And where he is accused of normalcy. No, not of normalcy. Of being a fixed being. Like he can't change because he's from off-world. He's an alien, and that society does not have the technology to physically or psychologically change, but they have decided, in order to battle inequality, that every day all of society is completely switched around, so that everyone has a different position. Because that way everybody gets to have every position at some point, and that includes one day you are the janitor, the other day you are a judge, the next day you are the president, and another day you are a sewage worker. And the same goes for families. Like one day you are a daughter, the next day you are a father, and so on. And that led to a problem once when a father gave birth, and because it was a biological woman at the time, that was assigned the position of father. These were Planstellen. What is that? Planned economy, but with every position in society is planned to have a different individual filling it out, and that is done by lottery. And this clerk explained, that led to a problem because a father can't give birth, but so we changed the law so that fathers can now give birth, so everything was fine again. And that is woke. That is the socialist ideology. You think woke is some new version of socialism? It isn't.
Well,
Stanislav Lem wrote his book in the 60s.
The only example which we've talked about before, which we know is incorrect, was one of the Wachowski brothers, or now sisters, said that The Matrix was a trans allegory.
And that is post-hoc bullshit. That is worse post-hoc bullshit than
J.K. Rowling.
Than J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Because J.K. Rowling, you can say after the fact that character was gay, although there was never any signs of it, because it doesn't affect the story in any way. Okay, if it needs to be, all right. Or if he liked vanilla over chocolate, never had any effect on the story, doesn't fucking matter. But the Matrix being a trans allegory is bullshit. That is complete bullshit.
Wasn't the only reason the Wachowski brothers transitioned because of like tranny porn or some shit?
Oh dear.
I don't know about that, but the one I think is could be a real case, but the other just did it for attention, for clout.
Yeah,
my sibling gets all the attention now. I transition too.
Yeah, no, I've had this argument over the years, and I remember with Jay when we were in the green room on episode 100 or 200, whatever, with Mahler's stream. And that was like, everyone else was shaking their heads like, what the heck is Jay talking about? And I think he used it as a metaphor. And the explanation was, well, yeah, the metaphor has a meaning outside of the literal. And I'm like, yeah, that's the definition of metaphor, but where is that in the film? Like, which part does that happen?
What film is this?
The Matrix. I have no idea which one. So it's this weird thing where people think that, there's characters in there that they're in another world and they experience their own life. It's like,
and then they wake. So the only way you can try to graft this on, because it's not there, you need to graft it on, is this completely skewed interpretation that only a school teacher could come up with.
Well,
that would be, you're not actually living your real life.
Yeah,
then you wake up to the realization of that you are actually something different.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sorry, that's not how gender dysphoria works.
Yeah,
you don't come to a realization. You are just plagued by this shit.
Yeah,
there's no realization involved.
It's to make that metaphor or allegory, you have to be very specific to what you're alluding to. The only metaphors and references I could think of in the philosophical ideas that were present in the Matrix was brain in a jar, which is obvious, the allegory of the cave from Plato, and one of the various evil genius, like Descartes' evil genius, or I can't remember all the other philosophers, that would be the interpretation of the literal Matrix character or the programs being the evil genius manipulating you behind the stream. Like that's it. There's nothing else in the Matrix, as good and philosophical as it was, that would mention anything like that I could think of, aside from maybe Alice in Wonderland, something like that. But no, nothing to do with the trans element at all. So it's
Plato's cave and the Ghost in the Shell is that is the allegories.
Oh yeah, that's a great.
Because you can't tell that because if you see the second movie, no, it's still in, I think it's still in the first, where Neo, where they have to emergency land in Nebuchadnezzar, and Neo goes outside, and this hunter seeker is coming and stopping in front of him, and he is magic Wi-Fi shutting it down or something. That, if you only take that, you could interpret that as being outside the Matrix is still being in the Matrix. It's just on a higher level. It's just the simulation above the simulation. So it's an allegory to simulation theory, which automatically is part of the Ghost in the Shell idea. Because if you are just a brain in a jar, or rather a synthetic brain in a computer, if that can be simulated, how does if your world is capable of creating that, then that means that your world that managed to create this could as well be just the creation of a higher world that has created yours. The 13th Floor came out, I think, in the same year as The Matrix. Has more or less the same plot, and I would say is from the writing the better movie. Dark City also came out, I think, around that time. So that a lot of movies came around just before The Matrix, and they had a better story. Check out The 13th Floor and Dark City. That's it, I think.
All right, we got some super chats. Do you want to keep going with the video? I think we're good to finish this off.
At least
I want to hear his final insult.
All right. Okay, Copperell. Sorry, I read that one already. Giga Chad. Hey, how's it going, buddy? Jim's butt cheeks are in 2 different time zones. Okay. Fair enough. Vladimir, one more time. Every time Jim wears a green bikini. Okay, you didn't have to give me that image, dude. Sorry for that mental image. Oh, thank you. My brain just went, Then he apologized.
Funny comment from Tyler Preston. If movies are trans allegory, then explain why Neo kills himself in the 3rd movie. I have the answer for that. That answer is, I can't tell you that. Cyanide pill activated.
Oh.
Go find it out yourself. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I lied.
All right. Everyone runs away screaming Godzilla. One more from Vladimir. Jim is so portly, she wakes up on both sides of the bed. That could explain their magnitude of sexual activity. Anyway. Jeez, I have to keep going with this video.
I don't want to give it credence anymore, because these people can with trans people. I have no problem with gay people. I just don't want it shoved down my throat. And their definition for being shoved down their throat is them having to see it. Therefore, their problem is the idea of tolerance.
No, it's Jim. What reveals that you're not actually trans is that you believe that all these depictions are good depictions of trans people, when they're not. People can tell that, even if they don't know much about this topic, that these are ham-fisted, crappily written bullshit presentations of characters, of insane people, not of people with problems you could think through. I'm lacking the English word here. I'm sorry, because I don't want to say empathize, but that you can understand. But these are all characters that are written in ways where it's just that this is just irrational bullshit. Just like your rant here, it's just irrational bullshit, because you even say you don't want to be rational. You just want your insanity accepted, and no, we're not going to do that, because that leads down an even darker path.
Its existence, because if something is allowed to chance, you're going to see it. And if you've got a problem with that, you've got a problem seeing it. And if you've got a problem seeing it, you've got a problem with it existing.
So isn't that the same?
No, that is not the case. For example, I don't want children to see it.
Is that the same thing with Jim and his reaction to everyone who disagrees with him? Like, he gets so fed up that he's not going to think about it anymore. He's just going to rant and get emotional.
Mm-hmm. He's about to cry.
Like, you went to all this effort to say, I can't stand these horrible people who don't think like me. I'm not going to bother rationalizing it or try to explain it or try and get in touch with them and figure it out. I don't care. I'm an emotional little boy or girl or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm going to scream and rant and you're doing the exact same thing. You're accusing these people supposedly of how they react to things that they are apparently are optional, but therefore they're choosing the option to see it. This is...
I would also say mature people don't think about sex all the time or sex-related topics all the time. But the gay topic and the way that they present the trans topic is about nothing else but sex.
This is why when he said it's shoved down our throat, it's everywhere now. It's getting silly now that we have to talk about it in frickin' Squaresoft games now. And
how about we don't?
Yeah, it's a frickin' farm sim. It's like, why are we doing this? What's the need for this in a farming sim game? There's no need for that. So yeah, Jim, when we spend $90 on a game, we want the thing to cater to our desires, the thing that it was designed to do, not some weird
which is
0.01%.
Which is escapism. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
which is escapism and entertainment.
Yeah, and this is a brand I like. This is Baldur's Gate. I love the first two games. I'm not going to play the third game because it has this crap in it, but because of other reasons. So I have higher standards than whatever the hell you can do with your companion characters.
Evil races aren't even evil anymore. Apparently, that's racist. So you have all these non-evil tieflings now, and probably non-evil illithids.
That's interesting.
What was so? It's just something I passed because I didn't care enough about it. That there's also another romance route where you can sex the mind flayer.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Does that even make any sense?
No, it doesn't, because we all exactly know how they procreate by taking over someone's body like a parasite, and that's the exact plot of the main character and his band. So yeah, no, Larian Studios.
If that isn't a bad ending, then I don't know.
Larian Studios, for all their creativity, is just going like they went too far. Well, what if the player wants to do that? Let's write that out. It's like, no, we don't need to write every option. That's silly. Write one good one, and once you're happy with that, and you have time and money, write a second one that's just as good quality. That's it. That's all you got to do for your choice and consequences. Don't write, well, what if we can't find the box in Chapter 1? Or we don't take Shadowheart with us in Chapter 1. Well, we have to eventually. I don't know if you guys have seen the video by GameSpot. It's called The Problem with the Box in Baldur's Gate 3. It's scary that these guys decided to go that route and make all the permutations possible for getting the MacGuffin and not getting Shadowheart. You can kill Shadowheart apparently. So
the game still works then?
You eventually do have to get the box. It is a plot centric.
The box is inevitable.
Yeah, and you could throw it out. You could throw it down pick it up later.
But Shadowheart is not.
Eventually she can be killed, I believe. Yeah, because you could play an evil character. So, I could be wrong. I haven't played the game, but this is what I read.
I mean, there are. I understand certain because you have a plot. That there are certain things about that and certain key items about that, but when it is shoved in your face in the very beginning, like here's MacGuffin, you have to have MacGuffin, that's not great. I'd rather they had found some other solution for that, as other games did. And if you have a MacGuffin, you can have it be somewhere else, or you just start with it from the very beginning, not even running into it.
Alrighty.
Whatever.
Not for me.
Good. We're done.
I don't think you're a creation of God.
Well, he clearly does not believe in God or any religious text.
Oh, subtitles. Laura Kate Dale. The other creeper that...
Wait, isn't that just 3 first names? What the fuck?
Oh, LKD was one of the crazy people that helped drive Total Biscuit into insanity.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. What is this? Steven dies of a heart attack because he's a fat fuck. Fat fucks who don't comprehend the health risks of being a fat fuck. What is this? What kind of stream? Is that like a card? Like for occasions? You give a card out? Oh my god. It's pretty much Steven, or Jim, rather.
Huh.
He does look like a Jack Horner.
I'm not going to read that. For some reason, I suddenly realized I'm trans. Yeah. That is... I don't know what that is.
Wait, what you looking at, Smug?
It's like a slug character, but Jim...
Oh, it's Roz from Monsters, Inc.
That's Monsters, Inc.?
Yeah, it's Monsters, Inc. You see on the logo there. Although this person doesn't scare because they care. They're just scary.
It'd be one thing if Jim was a healthy individual and competent and not irrational, but because they're obese and disgusting and choosing emotions over rationality, there's something wrong on multiple levels that your brain just goes, this is wrong. I should not be listening to this person.
And there've been funny studies where it shows that children can point out when people are ignorant and irrationally wrong, even though they don't understand the topics. Very interesting.
All right, here's this actual story of Bridget, I believe.
It says Pershall wrote lefty sort of meme, but I had to bring it up because of Bridget. And yeah, I can see it's a lefty meme because there's a text block.
Thanks, glad that my family was right to force me into a girl at such a young age because of a superstition in my journey as a bounty hunter to prove it wrong while showing my manliness, no matter how I looked, ended up being meaningless. Grooming is actually pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that is the actual story, yeah.
Yeah.
So not a lefty meme, just a clarification.
I'm going to watch Mark's video later. I don't want to...
Mark made a new video?
No. This is from Chad Vision, but I'll watch it later.
Is it the same meme again?
I don't know. Jim's remaining brain cells after listening to his rants. What do you mean, Jim is hurting himself? Listening to his own rants? Oh dear.
What the fuck is this creature?
1,000-pound sister star Tammy Slayton comes out as what the hell is...
It's just
bisexual with attention glitter on. Licking the pants clean doesn't count as pansexual.
Bullshit, you lied to me.
That is great.
Yay, Bridget got announced for Strive. I can't wait to play as my favorite femboy nun 1 year later. What the hell? It's a war zone?
Mm-hmm.
Jim Sterling, when he finds out video games will start costing $70. Yes.
Fuck that. Go back to 60 or 40 or
bourgeois.
20 or 30 will do.
I keep telling you, socialists are the actual bourgeoisie that they claim to fight.
Did the Holocaust actually happen? The Jimquisition. Is that a real video?
I think this is
that's an edit. You can tell because the black.
All right. This is what Jim believes unironically about games.
I fucking hate minorities!
Why is he laser blasting cakes?
That's the projection. This is lots of lefty comics are actually like this, where they just have superpowers and kill the people that don't agree with them.
When you invert your dick into your colon.
Your aubergine.
But no one believes that you're a real woman. Do you know how much I sacrifice? What's up with the hair? Like, why do they color their hair?
Because I have no clue with that. Maybe
part of the insanity. It's like, look at me, I'm special. I'm not like the others that also do exactly this thing I do.
Isn't there a thing where poisonous animals are usually? Yeah, figured.
That's what we
so
call...
I think it's unconsciously here.
That's what we call a manatee boys, or in the nautical slang, the sea cow. All right. What do we got here? There are 5 lights as. How many do you see? There are 4 lights. Is that what as has been going through the past week?
Yeah.
I haven't paid attention to him. I don't know.
Send him nice messages.
Yeah, I had enough time defending or arguing with people online about that, so I'm kind of busy. Crap, I need to stay relevant, and supporting BLM, queers, feminism, and socialism isn't working as well anymore. I have to take it up a notch. What is he wearing? Okay, whatever.
Die Gym-Staffel.
There's the two lightning bolts and the eagle I see on the collar. Okay. There he is, and Jim is his own worst whatever that is. I don't I'm just confused at that point. If you think my pronouns are optional, we can't keep being friends. What? Your terms are acceptable. It's like, yeah, go away. Can you imagine the gall of people asking, like, telling you their pronouns? It's like, my pronouns are he, her, or he, him. I'm like, what? Do you understand how human language works? When I speak to you,
they deliberately try to change it with the excuse that language changes naturally. Yeah, but what you do isn't a natural change; it's a deliberate change,
right?
That you force upon everyone.
And if you're talking to someone, you use first or second perspective. You don't use third. It doesn't make any sense. So it doesn't matter what. Like if you want to use a different name, like my name is Mary, it's like, oh, okay, I'll call you Mary. I don't give a shit. Sure, I'll call you Mary. First person, I, you. Great, but they.
Yeah, and we, by the way, that's what we do in German. We use third person plural, which would be they.
Right.
In talking to someone directly, but this is a honorific. It's like the royal plural. Like, you know, when you talk to a lord or a king and you speak in plural towards that person.
Ah, yeah, but that's extremely.
That's basically that. It's a formality. It's a thing of formality and professional distance. And technically, you have that in English because your second person singular, you, is technically plural. It was singular once, but you just completely put the plural in. So you basically treat everyone in this plural royal honorific when you say you.
All right, so here's a good little meme. I use she, they pronouns. Someone online calls me he by mistake. I'm perfectly fine with it. And the guy's like, I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, Jim, what's up with that?
Yeah, if you're perfectly fine with it, I mean, why even bother? It's
kinda... Yeah, why? How exactly are you trans? You certainly don't have the medical condition, and you can then also never complain about that naming or anything like that. The same is true about Jay, by the way.
I've heard this joke before. They, them, I'm doubling your rent. Yeah, okay. Jim, you're cringe. Now allow this lovely German lady to escort you out of the bar and apply some proper cure for that socialism of yours. Wait, what do you mean I'm promoting the same things that I preached feminism frowns upon, and I'm actively promoting transphobia towards real trans people for being a trender? See, that's where I'm getting confused, because when I say
lovely,
yeah, I want to use the proper term gender dysphoria. That clears up a lot of the jargon. So, especially when Whisp is around, because then Whisp knows exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, you're into pronouns, huh? Let me she them titty. Mario, how dare you?
Oh, I want to read this one. This meme.
All right.
Steven Universe Gems have no gender. Uses female pronouns such as she, her, and mom. And even has lesbian couples.
Rebecca. 99% of them look like girls.
So,
Rebecca, you're not being honest with us.
Yeah, it seems another post-hoc argument from an author. Just, hey, this is what I really meant to do in the show, even though I didn't. Of course, you have blue hair and pronouns. Yeah. Every time I got into an argument, after about a minute, I would check the person's profile on Twitter. They had pronouns. Believe it or not. And then I stopped bothering. Okay, sweet Jesus poo. That's not honey. You're consuming liberal media. Mind my pronouns, shitlord. he's dressed like a clown. Or his mouth is covered like a clown makeup. That's great. The next song is called "No One Gives a Shit What Your Preferred Pronouns Are." Yeah, no one really does.
Yeah. If it's just a preference, it's irrelevant.
So, according to Tumblr, you're allowed to pick your own personal pronouns or make some up if you can't find any you like. I think they might be onto something here. Hear me, office drones. I am Aaron Stout, 27 female plural. I share my headspace with several fictives?
Fictives.
What's a fictive?
Made up personalities.
I don't think that's...
It's the Munchausen of split personality disorder.
Yeah, but that's not physically possible. So anyway.
Yeah, of course it isn't. That's why it's a Munchausen in case.
I make shit up, therefore I think so. Okay. My preferred pronoun is motherfucker. What the? That's a crazy panel. Have you seen Stout? I need that motherfucker. I need that motherfucker to sign some insurance forms. Motherfucker's getting lunch. And what is she doing? Jumping through windows? What?
I am not entirely sure, but I am amused, but I'm not sure why.
What am I reading?
I think it's mainly the second panel. The rest I don't understand anymore.
Yeah, I thought maybe like the Kool-Aid guy was like breaking through walls or something. Like, oh yeah, but it's just jumping through a window for no reason. What was that? Thank God they never saw this. Heel versus Baby.
Oh, that's the video for what I talked about, where I said, "Oh, it's a guy," and Asad then said, "Oh, it's a guy," and then the character said, "I'm a clone of a man." I don't care. Go away.
So here's the from the DBZ video. Smud Eggman is forklift certified. What does that have to do with Dragon Ball Z? Oh yeah, that was a thing. People were trying to explain to me. I never understood. So this is someone on YouTube did a video or something, and I don't know.
Eggman is also a feminist.
Oh, really?
That is a localization thing there, sir. Or man.
But isn't it great that it's the villain?
I refuse. Eggman is
I love it. I love that thing. I don't care if it's... So one time I don't care if it's a translation error.
Here we go. Disabled Canadian Army veteran Paralympian blasts government for offering to euthanize her when she complained about how long it was taking to install stairlift at her home. Oh, it was about her stairlift. I thought it was about her wheelchair.
Yeah, so I had it right. It was a stairlift. I think there was another case that was a wheelchair.
I thought it was the same person.
There was also a juvenile with depression that they recommended suicide to.
Really?
Yeah, they're going for all of them. They just want to kill people. And think of it. This is now a part of the medical sector that gets paid. So they need to justify their existence, which means they need products. They need to work. That means the incentive is to tell people that they want to kill themselves so that they have a job where they can kill people so they can get paid. Never make this an industry.
Yeah, nice argument. Too bad you have your pronouns in your bio. Yeah, no, that's what it comes down to. It doesn't matter. At that point, you're wasting your time. Ugly people with no personality or skills, they, them. They take the pills. Michael Jackson pronouns he, he. Always good. If he dies, he dies. American healthcare. Canadian healthcare.
It's where the hell are we?
I jumped ahead.
Don't jump ahead.
No, there's too many. It's going to take forever.
No.
Oh, boy. Senator Leo Husakos, it sucks that's the best Justin Trudeau can manage. It sucks that we keep breaking the law, but hey, what are you going to do? Just a stunning lack of seriousness or sense of responsibility. Yeah, no, after three ethics breaches, you think the Canadian populace would give a shit, but no. They're just going to keep voting Liberal. Luckily, in the past 6 months at least, there's a huge jump in the Conservative Party popularity on multiple polls, so that's at least something. But it doesn't really mean what's going to happen. People celebrating that there is a gay character in their movie, games, and books. Yeah, we've had gay characters for decades.
Yeah, the activists get upset when we don't cheer for it.
Finally, a politics-free game? What? There's nothing wrong with politics in games. It's not like politics is unheard of in games. It's all over the place, but not current year religious politics. There's no place.
There's a difference between covering politics in your game and propaganda. Your game being containing propaganda.
Essentially. Unless that is the actual story of the game, which is we do have propaganda games. Papers, Please is an example, but that's of a historical propaganda, of a retelling of history.
Yeah, but I'd say that's a political game.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of that, it's not a propaganda game, but it uses in-world propaganda in order to show the politics of the time through this fictional place. The same way that Stanislav Lem, I keep going on about his writings, do that. His stories are full of they're science fiction stories, but they're actually playing out all the elements of the socialist ideology to its infinite conclusion, and that's where it gets so absurd. And in that way, you could say it's political because he dismantles the ideology. But it's not propaganda. It's rather also not anti-propaganda. And yes, the blobfish looks really nice when it's not dead.
So Zant is the sane one here. Zant is the one on the left. We have no idea what that statue is. I guess Zant is it? Is that from Dark Souls or?
No, that's Twilight Princess.
Oh,
he's the stand-in villain in Twilight Princess, and he has way too little screen time and development and exposition. But Zant is basically insane.
I wish he was the true main villain, though.
Yeah. The Ganon fight was also weak. I mean, looked great, but weak.
Senran Kagura 2, Deep Crimson Review, something tits, 3 out of 10, 4. That's great. 8 out of 10, great. Shower with Your Dad Simulator, 2015. Do you still shower with your dad review? Is that real?
That is horrible.
The Jimquisition logo? Is that a real thing?
Oh, that's a shitpost game, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but it's on the Jimquisition website, so. Oh my god. Anyway.
I hope this thing's just a shitpost.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, but it's a good example that if you dislike Senran Kagura, you have no fun in your soul. It's just silly fun.
But I imagine when someone says they are pansexual, hopefully that pan is not hot. Dr. Eggman. Eggman is a romanticist, a feminist, and a self-proclaimed gentleman. Sadly, his charms are often difficult to spot.
Objection, Your Honor. God damn it.
Goodness, you have a rather ample bosom. Really? Is that a line? Is that a literal line in the show?
That is in the Japanese original.
Nice.
Completely cut from the English release.
Here we go. The same people who said we were all whining about the Hogwarts game are shitting their diapers because Starfield has pronouns. Cry me a river, you absurd children. I see nothing. Like, they're not crying. They just don't want the game.
Mm-hmm. And The SJWs were always crying because the things didn't have the pronouns. It has to have it, or we're gonna scream to the sky again. Yeah, go scream until you lose your voice. Then everything will be better.
Well, I think that's enough for Jim for at least a good season. I don't think we need any more of Jim for a while.
Yeah.
Doesn't help us, doesn't make us happy. Doesn't make us smile.
Yeah. Oh, that last thing, by the way, about this trans woman thing being losing the job. Whatever is true about that case or what happened in the office, we're probably not gonna hear. Neil Druckmann firing what was her name?
Amy Poehler. I think that's the
not Amy Poehler. Henning. Yeah. Who wrote and directed wonderful games like Soul Reaver, fired her when all the socialists went on about, women in the industry, we need more women in the industry, and women get bullied in the industry. Firing her just so that Neil Druckmann could make his gay schlongfest in Last of Us 2. They didn't talk about that. No mention of that by the left. Because they don't care about women in video games. They don't care about trans people. They don't care about any of the things they talk about because their goals are something else. And it's very easy to figure out what those other things are by just looking at the product of their politics. You always think that their politics are failing, but that's you assuming that they want to actually do something positive. Consider that what their politics do, because they always double down on the results and leave the bad results just to fester, that maybe that is what they actually want to do. Because it's what they always do, and what they've done for at least 100 years.
All right, here's our last super chat. We're going to call it an evening. Vladimir, thank you, sir. Jim is so ugly. When she walked into a haunted house, she came out with a job application. I
can believe that.
I'm surprised Jim fit through the haunted house. Usually it's tight and spooky and hard to get around. Anyway, yeah, well, let's not watch any more Jimquisition videos for a while. It's not helping us with anything. We haven't learned anything. All we hear, if you're gonna say, if whoever your detractors are gonna say, I'm not gonna be rational, I'm not gonna reason, I'm not gonna use evidence, I'm just gonna be emotional, then you could cut that out of your life. You're not gonna learn how to argue against opinions like that. It's just gonna be a display of a child.
I'd say that's the being deliberately irrational and just being emotional and insulting is the one thing that is truly feminine about Jim.
Petty, yeah. All right. Well, guys, thank you anyway for the video. It's been a while since we did Jim, and yeah, nothing new in the Jim front, but still. Always nice to see some mental acuity go down the drain. And whining little children who are popular for some reason. So, keep the suggestions coming, keep the voting going, and we'll see what we can do on the weekend. Not sure if you guys are available to talk or have a good time or share some memes. We never know what's happening. Weekends are kind of sacred now. You get to unwind and relax. And suddenly the temperature just dropped like 10 degrees.
Oh, here it went up again.
It went up. It's like 16, 17 right now.
Oh no, we have end of August to somewhere into September. We have this is a natural thing here, just like the Saints of Ice in earlier in the month in May, where it just suddenly is cold for 2 weeks. We have this phase here where it first you think it's getting into autumn, but then it suddenly gets hot again for a couple of weeks. We call that Altweibersommer, old hag summer. Because it's like we get a bit of extra summer again. Oh, it's so hot. Where when you're sick of summer and it just comes back again.
Well, I gotta
Leave me
go
alone.
get some warmer pajamas and maybe a blanket or something like that. It's getting cold. So you guys have a good evening. We're not sure what we're doing on the weekend, but we'll find out. Stay tuned. Stay in the Discord. Say hello.
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
When are we doing the Dune thing?
We can do a smut talk on the weekend. That's no problem.
I think Bears wanted to be on for Dune.
Oh, that was like
the
Wednesday,
Dune video.
I thought this Wednesday. Yeah, no, we'll talk to Bears.
Yeah, but it didn't happen.
Bears has to mention it. I had to know. You have to remind me.
Okay.
If you're gearing up for it, you got to tell me the people who are involved. Dune is a great topic. It's huge.
Yeah, I'm finally reading the book.
Nice.
I've had it on the shelf for years, and because I only saw the movies all the time, I thought like, this is missing in my sci-fi collection, and I finally picked it out, and the writing is it's something. It reads like every scene is like it's almost already a movie script, but it's readable.
That's what's so impressive about the 70s version is it got made into a movie because so much had to be cut out, at least for the first book. Because the first book's so big. And it's so weird. The descriptions are so detailed, and you're just like, that's a ship, that's a base, that's a person. It's just like there's so many details.
Well, so far it's okay. I think in the beginning Herbert still had to hone his style a bit. It's a bit clunky and pretentious in the first pages, but later on it feels more like there is not a single unnecessary line. Maybe I haven't gotten to the rambly part yet, but so far it's like every scene is described with a cleanliness that I've not had something so clear visually in my mind as from this book. That is what astonishes me.
All right, good to know. Well, we'll set that up whenever Bears is ready. How's that? Okay.
Cool.
Talk to you guys later. Have a good evening. Later.